You're now tuned into the #1 mixtape DJ, DJ Shinsky. Follow DJ Shinsky.
Hello ladies, tumekunywa chai, we have warmed up, sindio? Are we thankful to FIDA for feeding us? They are rhyming, FIDA is feeding us. So before we get into the next panel, sitaki hiyo chai ingie isettle tuanze kusinzia. So I'm going to ask this team to lead us in a quick song that we can dance. Or do we have a volunteer? So we have musicians amongst us. Our chair has led in kind. Nani atatuletea wimbo ya kutuchangamsha? Represent your county. Madam, thank you. Please, come up. Tunataka tuchangamke, si ndio? Are you seeing she's removing her jacket? Are you seeing this is serious business? Ebu tuanze kusimama. As she comes up, let's stand. That's the energy you need. Thank you. Here, take us through. Can you stand up? I'm representing my county, County 035, Kericho County, take it in town. Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu, Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu.
Wetu ni wa ajabu.
Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu.
Wetu ni wa ajabu. Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu. Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu.
Menitoa wapi kaniweka wapi?
Menitoa chini kaniweka kati, kanitoa kati kaniweka juu. Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu.
Mungu wetu ni wa ushindi.
Mungu wetu ni wa ushindi. Mungu wetu ni wa ushindi. Mungu wetu ni wa ushindi.
Mungu wetu ni wa ushindi. Kanitoa wapi kaniweka wapi?
Chini kaniweka kati, kanitoa kati kaniweka juu. Mungu wetu ni wa ushindi.
Kanitoa wapi kaniweka wapi?
Kanitoa chini kaniweka kati, kanitoa kati kaniweka juu. Mungu wetu ni wa
I love it. Can we hear that sound? Ati? I can't even replicate that. Thank you so much, County. Umesema County 0? County 035, Kericho County. And we are very proud to have you. We are very proud to have you, and thank you so much for representing Kericho County. Sawa. Let's give another round of applause. We are now ready for our next panel, which I am advised by our panelist, hataki kusikia mtu anamuita Ann. It's that one is for the government. Her name amongst her sisters is Wanjohi, right? So I'd like to invite our panel leader, Ann Wanjohi. She is the founder and lead consultant at NELIG, and also an old friend of mine from my time at the Kenya Private Sector Foundation. So welcome. Please introduce your panelists and let us begin. Thank you.
Asanteni sana, makofi kwa MC. You know, I MC sometimes and we always need that encouragement. My name is Wanjohi Njoroge. I rarely use Ann because I'm proudly African. And so when I am speaking or moderating internationally, I teach them how to correctly pronounce my name. the same way we struggle with their names. So I'm a proud daughter of Africa. So that's why I use Wanjohi Njoroge. I saw my English name and I was like, ay, ay, ay. Money has been poured to finish me. I'm very, very excited about today. And the reason I'm excited is because the topic we're about to discuss is very close to my heart. I vied in 2022. I did not win, but it's an experience that I cannot trade for anything in the world. Politics is rough, very rough, and I will not lie to you. It's worse for women, but imagine a young, single, and without children. It is twice as hard because that is used against you, right? And so this conversation is very dear to me. I work in climate change, but I say that it is vying in 2022 that brought me closer to the women's agenda. Our panel today is on the two-thirds agenda, and specifically the future of women leadership and the changing governance landscape ahead of 2027 election. And I'm happy that we are talking about 2027 now. We can start preparing and ensuring that we have as many more women elected to Parliament, to the Senate, and there's a big problem at the Senate because that's the only place where women are not increasing. We had 3 women in 2017. How many do we have now? How many do we have now? How many do you have in the Senate? Elected, I'm not talking about nominated. How many do you have now? 7 in the Senate. We only have 3 women, so we have a big problem at the Senate. We also need to see more women elected at the county assembly as well. But to help us with this discussion, allow me to invite Honorable Ruth Wanjiko, MCA Machakos County Assembly. Makofi kwa Madam Ruth as she comes. We have Mr. Franklin Mukwanja, who is a ED, CMD Kenya. Apana, my guests will get better claps than those. We have Miss Asha Bashir, who is a Deputy SG at NAC Kenya. Clap, clap, clap. Let me tell you why this is important and why this makes me happy. It is at political, I was given proper character development by my political party. That was my welcome into politics. And if you are to truly change our politics and increase the number of women, it will have to start at the political parties. Because where we had the party leaders endorsing women leaders, were they not elected? They were elected. So for me, seeing Asha, a young woman, as the deputy SG of a political party is huge, right? Next, we have Madam Wanja Maina, who is the national chairperson for persons with disability, Jubilee Party. She's a phenomenal young woman, a friend, one whom I celebrate a lot. She was number 2 on Jubilee's list, so she would have been nominated to Parliament. And last but not least, we have Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi, who is a former commissioner at the National Gender and Equality Commission and also former Nyeri woman representative. I have seen her somewhere. Makofi kwake as she comes. As she gets ready, I think I will allow each of them to introduce themselves. Do they have mics or are we using the same one? I think.
Good morning, ladies and few gentlemen. My name is Franklin Mukwanja. I serve as the Executive Director, the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I've stood because Frank has stood to just take cue. My name is Wanja Maina. As Wajohi has said, I'm a leader in the 3rd largest political party in Kenya. And in the course of the panel, we'll get to know each other more. Thank you.
I wanted to ask her which wing. I think these are the changing dynamics you're talking about, no?
Good morning. My name is Asha Bashir. I am the Acting Secretary General NAC Kenya. I am also an advocate and a proud member of FIDA and other constituent bodies that are here today. So I hope to have a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Hamjambo nyote. My name is Ruth Wanjiro, a nominated member of the County Assembly of Machakos. Sisi, come. Yes? Great. So if I tell a lie, I have someone to keep me accountable. Now, sisi kama wala kwa viti saa hizi, I'm here to tell it as it is. I know there is the ideal in the books, and then there is the reality on the ground. That is what I wish to share with you today.
Asante. Kwa ground vitu ni different.
Thank you very much. Priscilla Nyukabi is my name. I now serve as the senior advisor to Governor Gladys Wanga in Homo Bay. And we were doing also a lot of work around the G7, yes, and now she's the chairperson of the biggest party, the ODM. But I also served before here as Mukwanja's chairperson at the CMD Kenya, and served also in the National Gender and Equality Commission, and served in Parliament, and have also been on women's rights, I think for the last 20 years.
I think we have a very good composition of panelists who bring in raw and real experience. And as Madam Wanjiko has said, let us keep it real. And I hope my panelists will also be as real as possible, because only then shall we achieve the purpose and the objective of this discussion. And I'm going to open with one question to everyone. It's the same question, and I will start with the gentleman on the panel, the he for she. What does transformational leadership look like in the context of increasing women's political participation and decision making, and how can women leadership and aspirants transform transformative initiatives within the changing governance landscape?
Thank you. First, in regard to transformational leadership, we're looking at the rule book. It should be visionary, action-oriented, inclusive. In respect to women leadership, it's not just about fostering an environment where women are encouraged to pursue leadership, but it's about empowering the women to drive systemic and systematic change. And therefore, transformational leadership to both women in leadership and those aspiring should then be about how do we help the articulation of the diverse voices, particularly women voices, as essential to being in a good and functional and developing democracy. And therefore, this demands of the women leaders to ensure that there are policies in place, there are laws in place, there are institutions to function and address critical issues that affect women. Talking about gender-based violence, now it's more on technologically facilitated. Talking about how do we support, women in issues around economic disparities. There are sufficient policy and legal frameworks to ensure, because if there is something about the candidature and aspirations of women in a setup like ours, the issues of access to, control of, and utilization of both financial and other resources, because of the nature of the society we have that is highly patriarchal, then there are limitations. So how do you use the law, use the institutions, use the policies to ensure that these critical issues that affect women and gender equality and inclusion in general are actually addressed. It's about, access to political resources. And political resources can be, the institutions that confer power and those opportunities. When we have principal secretaries being appointed, how many of those political resources are actually reaching the women, and being able to articulate this are very important. And therefore, 3 points that I would want to firm up is: one, there is the need for those ladies that are already in leadership and those that are aspiring, it's important that they inspire a vision, of around the issues that I've spoken about. What are these critical issues that are affecting women? Be it GBV, be it economic disparities, be it access to political resources and such. Number two is the need to create a supportive ecosystem for aspirants. The networks, the mentorship is very important. When Honorable Nyokabi was my chair, she was fond of this handbag carrying, support. You clung under the wings of a more experienced politician so that you can tap into their networks, you can tap into their skills, and get the necessary preparation of mentorship to be a leader. Number three is encouraging accountability. Because if you look at the major issue in Kenya today, is the question of the lack of ethical leadership, or the presence, unnecessary presence of unethical leadership. And therefore, when women want to be transformative leaders, I believe they should then be setting the example that actually transformational leadership is viable and essential. They have to use this as the legitimacy for women in leadership roles, because then it has to be different. But the society doesn't see the difference when the list of corruption comes out, and the women who are actually to pursue this transformational leadership are also scoring highly on the leadership scandals. I think to offer a different test and feel for the society, then women aspiring transformational leadership, already in place of leadership or aspiring to be, then need to set the example that actually transformational leadership is viable and essential. And finally, we need to recognize and celebrate achievement for women and by women. If you look at one of the greatest women leaders that we've had in Kenya, may her soul rest in peace, the Honorable Professor Wangari Maathai. Her story is told less than that of a Mungiki leader, right? We only know tidbits of her story, possibly the environmental aspect of her. But this was a scholar. I think she was the first woman professor in the region, all right? And she pursued a course that very few ladies still pursue today. And she really put her life in the line. So we need to tell these stories. These stories are important in encouraging more women to aspire leadership positions. And of course, they also go a long way to strengthen the women movement, because then there are footprints that younger women look to step into and become great. Thank you.
Makofi kwake. And I'll come back to you after this round, because you talked about, we need laws in place, but we have laws in place that are not being implemented. And one of the laws that's not been implemented is a 2/3 agenda, right? You also talked about lack of ethics in leadership. And I will ask Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi to respond to that when it's her turn, because she's one of the leaders that truly performed exemplary when she was a member of parliament, but she was still not re-elected by the people of Nyeri. So I said I would want us to have a real conversation if we are going to have women elected in the next election. Not that ethical leadership is not important, but is it one of the factors that, the electorate looks at when they're voting in leaders? Is it one of the things that they look at? But when it comes to women, women are meant and are supposed to be ethical leaders. Yet even the ethical ones are not re-elected. So what's a missing link? Anyway, we have all these panelists who are absolutely brilliant and have experience. Wanja, what does transformational leadership look like for you?
Thank you very much, Wajohe, and is it morning? Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I think I'll just talk. I'll just talk, and then the points will come somewhere in the middle. But before I talk, how many of us here are members of political parties? And I'm not asking about the one I am in, any political party. Once I've seen quite commendable number of hands compared to where I've been before. Because I think one of the challenges we do as women is that we love political power, we love to be elected, but sometimes we are not alive to the realities of Kenya that when you are in a popular political party, the chances of you being elected, like my friend Honorable Cecilia, are higher. You know, Wajohe, when you sent me the questions, they had very big English. For example, I would see you asking, Atiwanja, transformative leaderships, you changing governance landscape. So I was asking myself, is it changing for the better or for the worse? Because when you say change, you know, even you start training, that is change. So I chose to approach this question this way. Before we talk about change, before we talk about where we are headed in 2027, we have to ask ourselves, what is the problem? One of my mentors, her name is Professor Jacqueline Odwall, has summarized women problems into 5. According to her, and you know she's well educated, when you have the title professor, you can solve many of our problems. She says that if we handle these 5 issues, women will be happy, they'll have fun, and they will enjoy. So what are the problems that women in politics face that if we fix them, they will be happy? The first problem is withholding information. For women in politics, sometimes they don't know what's happening. You are just there. For those of us who have been in the political circles, sometimes when you go to a meeting, you don't know that there was another meeting. Have you ever gone to a meeting but there was another meeting? You are just there. Have you ever been in a meeting where people seem to agree? So they're like, by the way, even me, I've done that before. There are sometimes I usually in the meeting, before the meeting, so I know where the direction is going. Yeah, by the way, that is the truth. And then when you get the mic before you talk, you say, I wish to agree with Wajohe. You first agree. It's like you are reinforcing the point. Now, the problem is that when we are withheld information from the grapevine and the gossip, it also goes even in terms of the laws. Unasikia tu, you know, sisi wa mama, tuliambiwa twende, tufanya negotiated democracy. What you are forgetting is that also ORPP alipitisha, akasema nomination in politics can be both direct or indirect. So when you say, hatukupewa, negotiated democracy, but it's a law in the ORPP. So hakuna mtu amevunja sheria. So the question should be, next time watu wakiitwa negotiated democracy, which orthodox or unorthodox means will you use to convince the panel? Will you cry? You know, people have been crying even to get tickets. Will you dance? Will you even say you have money, or will you start praying? Let us start to know information, both formal and informal. The second problem is called double punishment. One woman's mistake is so exaggerated. Shida nyinyi wa mama. Then you're like, it's one woman, why are you making it shida nyinyi wa mama? You know, the other day we were following the Governor Kawera and her impeachment. She started being impeached even before she knew all the rooms in her Meru County. ati mama akona kiburi. Now surely, how do you quantify kiburi overall? How do you measure who is more proud than the other, really? So women are generally double punished. Their mistakes are overly exaggerated. And if we stop punishing women, probably if we stop punishing ourselves, life will be good. The third problem is called making ridiculous. Have you ever seen how a woman may be a slip of the tongue when they talk, kakitu kana exaggeratiwa? One woman rep once upon a time, not a woman rep, but a woman leader. Alikuwa anasema methali ya Kiswahili ya kusema yaliyopita si ndwele, yaliondwele sipite. Now most Kiswahili media houses wakimweka wanaeka yaliondwele sipite. So you know it looks funny, but there was another one who said if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gado or something. If it's good for the gado, I don't know. You are laughing because you know the person, but me I have not mentioned. So there's a way a woman, like you are being projected as if you are illiterate or you don't know what's happening. Some of the cartoons that are made by our newspapers, the women are usually maybe with a highly exaggerated lead lipstick, a short skirt, with a weave that is a bit uncoordinated, walking without... So you look and you are like, so are you saying that that woman is angry or what are they? Some of our top women leaders, there are photos in the newspapers who are wanatafuta the worst. Have you ever seen anakani kama anataka fight? And then I'm like, why can't you call that woman leader akutumie the best photo when we are in the age of smartphones? When you're meant to look ridiculous, you are not taken seriously. Now, if you're not taken seriously in the room, ukifika, watu wakiongelea kuhusu pesa, high budgets, wewe unaambiwa tuambie geography ya room. Wageni wa Nairobi, chai iko side, washroom iko huko nyuma. But we're in the meeting, and that now is even extended in serious discussions, where when people are talking about finance, strategy, a woman is a secretary, and I'm not saying secretaries are bad, but your job is just domestic, logistics, to confirm if the tea is ready, and mandazi. So, with a lot of respect to people those who do those jobs, but we are now seeing even in higher cadres and higher positions, and you also tend to see even in other African countries, most women are given Ministry of Gender and Social Services, even in counties, because sometimes we focus so much in the CS and the top level, but we are forgetting about devolution. So why can't the women be given roads, transport, because that's where the real decisions are. It all starts with you looking ridiculous and you looking like you are not in the room. The fourth issue, and I know Wajohe is prompting me to finish, is burdening with guilt and shame. Women are always sorry. If you are walking like this, I'm in the road, I've not even talked to you, like, sorry. What are you sorry for? This thing of being sorry, shrinking, looking like you are lost, is used to make you feel very disoriented in the room. Haven't you ever seen how men occupy the room? They walk with their chest out. And then you look at this individual. His highest education qualification is a higher diploma, and not in a bad way. Everybody here has a degree, a master's, but they will even mansplain to you. I mean, you are a lawyer, but them, they did your hospitality. But when you're talking about constitutionalism, they'll find our friend, the chair here, and they're telling you, now, the law. The only thing they know is Article 37, because that is one we were taught by the Gen Zs. And even Frank is my friend, but Frank is not like them. It's the bad ones. Those things are very serious. And now you find that it affects even how women progress in careers, how women governors are treated, how they are insubordinated and taken lightly. It doesn't help, and the numbers are also reflecting that in a country with almost half women, half men, is there an elected woman senator? I think there are 3, if I'm not wrong. The others are nominated. I don't know which law changed, because I used to hear that they don't vote. But I think, so you are there, but during the serious voting of counties, it's by delegation. So what is your job exactly if your job is representation, oversight, and legislation? That is a big question. Lastly, women are made to look invisible. You know, there's a person who said that every time you see big inventions or very heavy quotes, alafu anasema, what, you know those heavy quotes we put on the internet, and then the name of the person who has been quoted is anonymous, just know it was a woman. Women have really gotten credit, they write big papers, they contribute in very great researches, but rarely is their contribution taken seriously. But then again, as women, do we also publicize ourselves? Do we publicize our work? Do we document our work? Maybe that is a challenge. So Wajohe, you asked me the role of transformative leadership in the changing governance landscape. But for me, I choose to look at it in terms of what are the problems, what are the big issues according to what we see, especially in the side of politics. So that once we have internalized the problems, then we'll come up with good solutions that are culturally appropriate, whereby boys are seen to be better than girls, whereby there's negotiated democracy in the clans. Your elder brother, who is not very promising, is told that they are the ones to vie and not you in some communities, and we had that during elections. So we really need to be at the pulse of the issues first, and then we can start thinking forward. Thank you.
Makofi sana. And I think she has touched on some very, very important issues. And I would want to focus on political parties. And because she's touched on something that affected me, the negotiated democracy. And here we are telling each other the truth. Politics ni kujipanga. When I got into politics first, I said, you know, the Boda Boda operators met with me and they asked me, so what are you giving us? I said, you know, ni kujitolea. And they said, DC kanisa. You know, and that's the truth. So how do we ensure that women are kujipangaing properly ahead of the next election? And these are the things we must work on to ensure that we are increasing the number of women being elected. Because once you have the party ticket of the popular party in your region, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to be elected, right? So I really liked Wanja's contribution, and we move to Asha now. What does transformational leadership look like for you?
For me, transformational leadership, I look at it from different quarters, just like my sister before me. Because one, it starts with us as women. And I always say this, it starts with you. Before after we go out and start saying, oh, we want this, the journey must start from, first of all, an individual space. Are you ready unapologetically to take that seat? Because that's the first question. Because once you're in doubt, my sister here is in doubt, we become a bunch of women who are in doubt. So we can never support each other. That's the first issue we have. Let's start from where we are and agree. I want to be, for example, a president or a woman rep, or I can lead in any structure, in any organization, become a cabinet secretary or a principal secretary, but am I going for this unapologetically? The challenge we are facing also is because the system is so rogue. I agree that we have good laws. In fact, as an advocate, I would say there's nothing wrong with our laws. It is just deliberate attempt by our counterparts, the males, and my brother Frank will forgive me, I know him, he's a he for she, but it's a deliberate attempt because the Constitution of Kenya is very clear. So why are we not implementing that first of all before we move to now other issues? So for me, when I look at transformational leadership for women, first is we start with ourselves. Because when we are sure, we are all now, first of all, moving from a point of success. Secondly, we have no problems with the laws. But because now tumejiamini, we'll move to the next phase, which is active campaign from mashinani to political parties. That we are not even going to ask for anything. We are simply saying, excuse me, there's the 2010 Constitution. We must have our space. So it is not something that we are not going to negotiate. The reason we are negotiating is because sisi wenyewe, we are not sure what we want. So you find my sister Wanjoi vying, and I'm the first person to pull her down, and I'll support a male counterpart. So what will I say? Huyu Wanjoi siku hizi anaringa sana, anafikiria atakuwa woman rep. Tutadeal na yeye kwa ground. I am the first person throwing a stone at her. So how can I now come and say, we want to sit in a table? It has happened in our counterparts in Rwanda. Rwanda has the highest with 60% in parliament. What are they doing that we're not doing? They still have the same constitutional changes like we did, but we are far from there. I am sorry, people like making reference to developed countries like the US. For me, let's start with Rwanda. They've not been able to reach where Rwanda has reached. Our neighbors in Uganda have done in terms of leadership in the executive. But the question is, ilikuwa mwanamke yeyote, not mwanamke bora. Because then what they do is that, si mumesema you want women, tutawapatia tatu, but look at the track record of that woman. You make sure you control that woman because anaona, I did not earn it. So you've nominated me, so I'll have to think the way you want me to think. So even if this woman is a professor, she will sit in that room and say, because my boss said this, I will have to toe the line. Because you're at a point of mercy, not at a point of you own it. So for me, that is the second phase, that it is an active, collective campaign. Even as we approach the 16 days, it's an active campaign that we say, enough is enough, we are moving with this movement. Thirdly, and I appreciate my brother Mkwanja has raised it, is mentorship. Mentorship is important. And we fail again because tunatafuta mentors and we start saying, I don't like Priscilla Nyokabi, huyu hata hakuna kitu anafanya. But she's a woman. She knows how the terrain is. So you'd rather work with someone you know, because a male mentor is perfect. I'm not saying don't have that, but it's an added advantage if you're going to the ground to have a woman, because there are challenges a woman faces that our male counterparts don't. So the power of mentorship, again, I repeat, is twofold. It's individual, know what you want, then pick a mentor from there. And I have a problem when I see, especially the young women in this room, that you say, me, I'm just coming, and even the older women, unakuja a political party just because I want the ticket. So after the ticket, the institution is dead. Especially if the institution has no numbers or political muscle in terms of money. That's the political muscle, by the way. Hiyo ingine ni Kiswahili. But the political muscle is the money in terms of the way the party is performing in terms of the general election. So you find I come, I want a seat as a woman rep, nikishapata ticket, whether nimeanguka or I got it, I'm gone. So I do not care about that. So there is no institutionalism. So as a result, now, even bills are being passed, most people do not know what is happening in the country. And so political parties cannot be held accountable because tulikuja to use it as a vehicle, not as a tool for change that can champion for the changes. So I also implore that as we join the political parties, there is a good place. There are women leagues, NPWD leagues, and the youth leagues in all political parties. Sit on those seats unapologetically. Say this is our bare minimum, and that's where it starts. So for me, again, political parties or institutions play a key role, but we come back to point one. Lazima ujiamini, and you must take that space unapologetically. So for me, that is transformational. And the last one, and very important, pesa. Let nobody lie to you. Money is everything. Yeah, that's the truth. So, let no one tell you that your money is the source of all evil. It depends on where you want to sit. But in this terrain, if you have no money, then there's nothing. If my sister Priscilla says today I want to be a president, how many people will voluntarily contribute to her campaign trail? Let's be sincere. And campaign trail starts from materials, expertise, even security. That's why we face violence during elections, because I go to the campaign trail and I do not have women who support me. So our male counterparts come with 6, 7 bouncers, tunatandikwa hapo kabisa. So we live there and say, it's not for us. So we come back again to that, finances. And it starts again to that what my previous sister talked about, your name calling, that huyu aliiba sana kuliko huyu, and they are both male. So whenever there's a crime, hawatasema ati, this man stole more. No, it's always this woman, because society expects you to be a doormat. And so now if you go against the norm, sisi wote we are punished. So you find that they say, we are not going to vote a woman. Unaona ule Kenya alifanya, hatuwezi chagua mwanamke. But they never point at themselves. But I still insist that money is a key player. Not 100%. There are areas where people win seats without the money, but it's an important factor. So for me, the transformational leadership for us is in that front. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I promise you, bila pesa. You know the Swahili saying that says, mkono mtupu haulambwi. That is politics. If you have no money, you can win an MCA seat without money. But when it comes to MP and the county seats, my friend, you need money. And let no one lie to you that you won't need money. Honorable Muhesh,
she's talked about nomination. And I would want to hear your perspective on transformational leadership, especially when it comes to nominated seats. And this microphone is not working. I think it doesn't have a button. And I'm very curious to hear from your experience. How much power do you have in the county assembly as a nominated MCA? Are you independent from the party that nominated you? Can you go against it and survive?
Yeah, before I answer that, first of all, my name is not Wanjiko. Nimejaribu kuvumilia imenishinda. Ni Wanjiro, okay? The two names have different meanings. My name is Wanjiro. And also, kuna mtu nimesikia akisema they got the questions. I don't have them in Kenya. I don't know if I didn't see it or what, but it's okay. Jumina wapatia the raw version of things. Sindio? When we talk about transformational leadership, I would like to say just 2 points. Number one, preparedness before uende itishe hiyo kiti. I know we are very well equipped when it comes to our careers and our backgrounds. But the moment like watu sema, some 50 people from my village came to my house and they said I can make a good leader. From that point, kama umekubali, how do you prepare? Najua 2027 iko mbali, but this moment right now is very vital in what kind of leader you'll become. Number one, tumesema for women, you have to do double the work. That is the truth of the matter. You have to know things. Hakuna kusimama tu kiti and you're not prepared. Number one, the legal frameworks that are available to help you. Unajua mambo ya Campaign Finance Act, vitu kama hizo. Organizations like FIDA are here to help us with the legal frameworks. We are supposed to make use of them because they are available. Hiyo nakwambia ni point itakusaidia leo na 2027. Usiende kuomba kiti ya leadership na ujui sheria inasema nini concerning what you are looking for. Sawa sawa. Number two, I want to talk, and I don't want to sound controversial, but it is the truth. There are leaders that have vied for these seats and they have gotten them. And I want to say this with a lot of humility. Once you get that seat as a woman, this is affecting us a lot, and I have to say it. Once you get the seat, what do you do with it? Najua mmesema tusiongelelea ati wale wamepata ati as long as they are women. No, number one, we seek these seats because we are leaders, and then we are leaders who are women. Sindio? But once you get that seat, what do you do with that seat? Does it inspire the community to vote for another woman after you? Because if you misuse, I know, hata men wana misuse, but women, it's delicate. Everybody is looking at you, your family, the society. They expect a lot from a woman, and it is the reality. Tunaweza sema isikuwe hivyo, but reality ndio hiyo. As a woman, and I will give you a positive example because I dwell on positivity. A governor like Anne Waiguru, she's a performer. I say that with a lot of confidence. I'm not from her county. But what she has done inspires the county to vote for another woman governor after herself. Because she has led from the front, transforming every sector that is close to the heart of the society, education, health. So a man who comes to vie after Governor Anne Waiguru will have to do now the double work. Because she has set a precedence of work. Kama mwanamke amepata kiti na afanyi kazi, mnasikia what is going around. It is the reality on the ground. Wamama wengine, mnapewa viti, you change everything, mawig, manini. It does not matter. But kama ground inasema hivyo, huo ndio ukweli. Fanyia watu kazi hata na hiyo wigi yako. Like, do double the work. Am I speaking a lie? I'm telling the truth. As a woman, ukipewa kiti, usiharibie wale wako nyuma yako. That is how we will transform this space and get more women elected. Now, women who are seeking these seats, be prepared. Usiende tu wewe ni mwalimu, wewe ni lawyer, umekuja tu unataka kiti because people know you as an advocate. You have to do more work. Unajua sheria, umejipanga kifedha, you need money, usidanganywe na mtu. Na ujue kama umeolewa ni double tragedy. Hakuna mtu atakubali uze shamba yake uende kwa campaign. Lazima ujipange. Ni kweli ama si kweli? As a woman, what I'm trying to say is double work. Once you are preparing and once you get the seat. Concerning your question about nominated members, number one, it depends in the strength of numbers of your party. Hiyo ndio inafanyanga kazi kwa all parliament ya assembly na ya juu numbers. Kama tuseme chama yangu iko na more members, I have a voice, I have a vote. But now if you are defeated in numbers, you have to, wanawake tuko na strategy. This is my own strategy. We form a coalition with like-minded parties so that my vote will count. Nasema nini? Wacha nikupatie example. Recently, I don't know if you heard, we were to impeach our speaker in Machakos County. She's a woman, and I will not go into details. We are only 60 members, but above 50 signed. We only have 20 women MCAs in Machakos County. That is to tell you watu wenye wako saini wangapi? Just 9. Actually 8, because one of us left us. 8 people. And all of them were men. This is to tell you that all women signed. Sita kupatia details. So nasema hivi about the vote. Kama mimi chama yangu haina watu wengi kwa bunge ya Machakos. So tumechukuana, wanawake tutumie strategy. Hii kitu ni kujituma, hakuna mtu atakusaidia. Tumechukua now the small parties to form the biggest number. Like tumeshinda hata majority sasa. So the majority have to also humble themselves because tunaweza amua sisi ndio majority. Strategy. As you prepare, strategy is important. Usishindwe akili na wale watu mnashindana na wao. Akili ni nywele. Nimeongea sana, sijui kama kuna point, chukua what you can.
Of course kuna point, si ndio? Na amesema we as women leaders, the minute you are elected, it's important to remember that you come as one representing hundreds of thousands of women, right? And that's a very, very important point. Lakini pia, I would want to hear on siasa ni kujipanga, because once you've done the work, how do you ensure that you're re-elected? And I'm going to ask Honorable Nyokabi. I know it's an uncomfortable question. I have lost an election, so I know how hard it is to lose an election. But I'm going to ask you this question in the spirit of being very, very honest in this conversation. You worked very hard for the people of Nyeri. When I campaigned in the last election, I would go to places and they would say, "Ini project here, Nyokabi." But you were still not re-elected. What was the missing link? Where did you go wrong? What would you do differently if you were to go back and seek re-election?
Thank you so much, and it is indeed true. That's a difficult question. So I'm thinking I start with the easy ones of transformative leadership and the ones that are national, and then I'll speak about myself. And I will also speak about post-election recovery, because you have to recover after the election, one way or the other. So on transformative leadership, it's a question that we've also spent a lot of time reflecting on, especially those of us on this space, the quality of leadership of women. What difference are the women making when they get there? Because if women get there and offer us corruption, tribalism, matusi, then you might as well just have the men. There is really no reason to elect a woman governor, for example, who goes and continues with corruption that was left by the past regime. And so on this question, so for me as a person, I've reflected on it in two ways. One, in Kenya, in terms of Kenya, what is transformative leadership for our country? And I come from Udaya constituency in Nyeri County, where we were led by the former president, the third president, the late Mwai Kibaki. And I can tell you what transformative leadership is from there. Transformative leadership is water in your home. It is electricity in your home. Rural home has electricity. It is a coffee tea factory. Pesa mfukoni. Chakula mezani, pesa mfukoni. In your household. It is taking children to the university. I mean, that is what, and Mwai Kibaki did this over a span of 40 years. And so the sort of the indicators, the WHO indicators are a health center every 3 kilometers. They are a primary school every 5 kilometers. Othaya hits all those indicators. There are 35 secondary schools in Othaya constituency, which is even one of the protected constituencies under the constitution because the population is not very high. And so even now, as I advise Governor Gladys Wanga, it is, what is the Homa Bay Vision 2040? And vision is not short-sighted. Vision is not 5 years. In fact, part of the reason we are all losing this debate on leadership is because we are doing 5-year cycles. You cannot develop a country in 5 years. You cannot transform people in 5 years. And you cannot transform a society in 5 years. It's got to be longer than that. So 40-year programs, where is that vision? Like what Mwai Kibaki left the country in Vision 2030. So with the women governors now, which is the space I've spent a bit of time on with the G7 strategy, how do we link development, which Wanjohi is asking me correctly. In Kenya and in many countries, development is not elected. You will not be elected for developing. You will not be elected for having Vision 2040. You will not be elected. How do you turn that development into votes? And that is the question that we all have as women. How do we turn this ethical leadership into votes? How do we transform these good values of water and energy and all these things into votes? And there's still a big question around that and what we're going to do about it. And so even for groups like FIDA and we here gathered, that's where we should take this conversation. We have women in sessions now, like our friend here in the assembly. What difference are you making in Machakos County for the people of a ward in Machakos to elect you? Otherwise, if you are in the assembly and you are following the party leader akienda left, unaenda left. Akienda right, unaenda right. Party leader akianguka kwa mtaro, unaanguka kwa mtaro na party leader. So, why would people elect you? Si party leader atatuambia ni nani? Party leader atatupea watu. So that is now the cycle that we are in, which is a bit of causing frustration to everyone, and is a cycle we need to give up on, and it will take time. The strategies are one, the preparation in between elections, performance of members, ensuring that our members are performing, our members are passing laws, but with the realization that the laws the members are passing will not lead to re-election. How do we still crack the re-election problem? And then the other one for me is mentorship, and I'm happy. In fact, for me, nobody should ever ask me who I have mentored. My mentee is here. My mentee is here. And my other mentee, my other mentee is there. And the other one is here, yes. And you know, every time people tell Warogoro and Shohei that they speak like me, I feel a bit amused that, hey, awa wanaongea kama Nyokabi. They will be women reps of Nyeri. They will be women reps of Nyeri. So that mentorship is real. I remember in 2010 when Kenya was marking the Nairobi forward-looking strategies, the women rights movement. Remember, the Beijing platform of action had preceding meetings. So one of the preceding meetings for the Beijing platform of action was Nairobi forward-looking strategies of 1985. And I was then in Kituo cha Sheria. And I remember the women rights movement telling us, we now want to hand over the baton. We were in Nairobi forward-looking strategies. Now, women like yourselves should be here for Beijing, should be here for Constitution of Kenya 2010. And so even now, we need to be preparing women who will take over from us, the younger women, and what we would call the purple zebra. Like, I was also very sad when Wanjohi did not get the negotiated democracy. Luckily, me had become a bit strong. Mimi nilipata. Me, I got in the negotiated democracy. So, but then we need principles like purple zebra, and which is why we, for example, need the party candidates lists to be 2/3 compliant. So that even in the negotiated democracy, the parties are bound to provide a list that is 2/3 compliant. They must give 2/3 of the candidates seats to women. And it's a big number. For the big parties like ODM, that for example fronts 290 constituencies, that is 97 women candidates. For parties like UDA and Kenya Kwanza that are also big, that is 97. And even for smaller parties, if you are in 3 counties, for example, Wiper, it means 2/3 party list of where you are, which means your strongholds are also covered in there. And that one we need to fight for. Let us not go to the next election without a legal requirement that all the parties have a candidates list that is 2/3 compliant. All the parties. Hata kama unasimamisha watu watano, chama ndogo, au watu watano, 2/3 gender rule. And 2/3 is 34%. It is not 30%, it is 34%. And 2/3 gender rule will also mean, we did the study with CMD, Frankie would remember, for the last election, 2022, the women candidates were 11%. The ones who were elected were 10.6%. So it actually means if we have 34% of candidates who are women, we have a higher chance of getting the 2/3 gender rule in the ballot. But we have to start with the candidates. And we have to start with preparing candidates, like many of the ones I see in this room. And we start in good time, not in the last year of the election, so that's why these conversations are coming on at a good time. The law is changed in good time. You remember, part of the reason the negotiated democracy gave some women, including, say, people like Gladys Wanga, Elachi, is because at that time, IEBC had issued the directive that parties must give 2/3 compliant lists. And then just before the election, a man I will not name ran to court and got that rule overturned. So now the parties that had not complied, there was no consequence of non-compliance. If we get that rule now, the rule is in NADCO, the rule is in the multi-sectoral task force report. It is the Elections Act amendment. That should be amended now. It shouldn't even have to wait for the 2/3 gender rule, because there's also a Katiba Institute case on that question where judges have said all the parties should have a 2/3 candidates list, which means gubernatorial, senatorial, negotiated democracy, democracy chini ya maji, democracy juu ya mti, democracy mkuje na list ambayo ni 2/3 compliant. And that all is also part of the law, which was my other point. The role of law, the role of constitution, the role of international law, the Beijing Platform of Action that we spoke about earlier, the CEDAW, the convention, the Maputo Protocol. So just continuously championing implementation of law by government, including now the 2/3 gender rule, and not being in non-compliance. In fact, I'd even retrieved, just as I was coming here, the Duale bill. It is time for the Ishongwa bill. Ishongwa si vizuri anatembea tu huku, he's not trying to solve the problem. Ishongwa bill, we give us a bill. Wachana tu na hizi maneno mastori mingi. You give us a bill, put the bill in parliament, we'll be struggling with a bill that is on the floor. Like, you know, the constitutional bills need 90 days maturity. So even now as we speak, we are like wale watu wa nini, wa Israeli. We are waiting for manna from heaven. Because there is nothing. Hakuna kitu inaiva jikoni. The kitchen has nothing. Hata wapishi hawako, wako shughuli zao. Nothing. Na tunangoja 2/3 law hapa. Even as God idea is like manna in heaven. No, there is no manna. It is, we put something on the kwa stove. Tuone ikichemka. Tuone watu wakingangana. Tuone weta, the speaker now. We see the president. We see Baba. We see Wiper. We see people trying to solve this societal problem with something that we have put on the table. Now on the difficult question. And your value, if you have values, and if you're a good leader in Kenya, I mean, the truth of the matter is that you have no space. We don't have space for that. We don't have space for that. And it has really, really agonized me. And when I joined politics, I had a good friend, the member of parliament for Kamukunji, who I asked, you know, I was the director at Kitweche Sheria. I have never insulted anyone. You know, the way we kasia mbele ya duka. Me even I grew up in mtaa huko Jericho. Na bado siku anajua kutukanana. Na vile watu wa Jericho jua kutukanana. Hizo madhiri juu kanyanga tu mtu hivi kidogo. Wewe, nitapita na wewe. I just never could do that. Then now I was vying and I had decided that the 2010 constitution needed good leaders to lift it. And when we kept asking the 2/3 gender rule, I wondered if women like myself cannot vie. These other women we want to vie, where are they? If a woman lawyer from Udaya cannot vie, sasa what are we all doing? I said, I'm vying. Hey, nikashikwa na watu wanashangaa, hey, wewe unavai, guy yake wananihurumia. And you know, some women leaders can be really rough. So I went to Yusuf. And I spoke to Yusuf and I said to Yusuf, what do you do? And he gave me the best advice of my life. You stay with your values. You stay with your values. You stay with your values. Whether you are elected or you are not, you stay with your values. Because these parties are terrible. I'm telling you, hakuna kitu mbaya kama kukuwa mwizi mdogo. Kama Kenya basi tu kuwa mwizi mkubwa. Mwizi mdogo utashikwa na EACC, hiyo pesa kidogo uliiba, utaandika wakili. I'm telling you, my sister, you will be terrorized. This system is a terroristic system. and it is rigged against us. But if you stand with your values, day and night, you will go through the seasons. You will go through the season. And a time will come when our country will have good leaders. We can't give up. We can't give up on our country. And we can't all be thugs so that we are elected. I also don't buy that theory. So, Wanjuri, you asked me a good question. And my father also, with whom we spent a lot of time on this question, told me, never regret good work. If I went back now, I would do the same good work. I will pay bursary for the children to a shilling. I will pay bursary, I will build the dormitory, I will build the water, I will not be corrupt. If I'm elected, thank God. If I'm not elected, thank God. Yeah, and I'm here now to speak. Because when you are corrupt, you have to put a fence, sijui inafika wapi. Dadangu hutawai lala. Hutawai hata uwezi tembea kwa street. Uwezi hata enda nini, best lady wekwe kazuri. Unashinda huku na mabodyguard. Uwezi wa nini? Wachaneni na hizo.
Thank you. You know, and I like the honesty. I like that you're having a very vulnerable and uncomfortable conversation, because this is how we're going to move forward as a country. And then I remember one particular time, she went to church and she gave 2,000, and it was national news that an elected leader has given 2,000. But I want you to appreciate just how bad our society can be at times, because they expect you to give 100,000. But where are you to get 100,000 from if you've not stolen? You know? So these are some of the things that we need to deal with, and it will take a lot of citizenry education and civic education for us to make the next step. I'm just going to ask one more round of questions, and then I open it up to the audience, because I would also want you to contribute to this question. If you have comments, if you have questions, please jot them down, and we'll have, I think, room for 3 or so. Coming back to you, please help me pass it. The man in the house, I said I would come to you with a question of the 2/3 gender agenda. And I know you've said that the 2/3 gender agenda is not just a woman's issue, it's also a human rights issue. You've served on the working group, the multi-sectoral working group. And so I'm curious to know, the report highlighted key reforms to influence women's political participation. Are the reforms enough? And what are implementation strategies that we can identify to realize the recommendations are actioned?
Thank you for the very important question. But just before I go to that, let me emphasize the issue of ethical leadership. And I brought this out deliberately, that women should find it viable and essential. My personal experience is I was in my early 30s when I was thrown into the deep end of leading a very politically charged organization. And the organization was literally going down. And I cannot attribute it to any other reason but the male dominance, the male egos that were bringing the organization down. It actually took 2 boards led by women and dominated by women to rescue one of the most important organizations today. One of those boards was chaired by Honorable Priscilla. So when we're speaking about women being the epitome of transformative leadership, ethical leadership, we have seen that in the spaces where there are problems, they have actually been fixed. And where they cannot fix them, they have actually neutralized the bad manners. And that is why I am very keen on encouraging women not to drop, to use my former boss's words, stay with your values. I know it is fashionable to be a crook in politics. It is very endearing even to the women voters to be a crook, but it is more punitive in a patriarchal society when women are engaged in unethical practices. Back to your question. Certainly, the multi-sectoral working group on not more than 2/3 gender principle made some valuable and solid recommendations. But the adequacy of these recommendations thoroughly depend on whether they will actually address the systemic barriers to women's political participation. So I'll first highlight 3-4 recommendations and then go to the strategies that we can use. One is that we made a constitutional amendment proposal, and this is basically looking at the efficacy in the county assemblies around Article 177 and importing those mechanism that has made the county assemblies gender compliant to Articles 97 and 98 about the National Assembly and the Senate. And we also made a recommendation that that should come into effect immediately, something already the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament has seemingly said it is too ambitious. How meeting a constitutional imperative is ambitious is something that is really debatable, but that is there. We also made recommendation around the political party reforms, and this is particularly to affect the party lists and also make sure, agreeing with the President's ideas in his memo to the two Speakers of Parliament on 9th December 2022, that there should be a fund that helps in terms of training, capacity building, and meeting the real financial needs for women candidates. And therefore we agreed with that and made that proposal around the political parties funding. We also asked for an amendment in the Elections Act, which should provide more clearer mechanisms to ensure that especially the 12 seats, we approach it from an intersectionality and zebra point of view, so that if you're doing the list of 12, we put in a condition that start with a woman, all right? Then when you start with a woman, of course, then you're likely to, at the very least, get equal 6-6. But also considering other intersectionalities, if you started with an elderly woman, then number 3 should be a younger woman. Number 5 should be a woman with disability. Number 7 should be a woman from minority marginalized. So that then all those aspects can be addressed. And of course, we know we have not been able to legislate around Article 100, which is about promoting the special interest groups, and also as called out for the enactment of a legislation that can be able to enable that. However, before I go to the strategies that we can deploy, I am a strong believer that we took the wrong turn in 2010. At the height of constitutional making process and making that critical decision, there were two schools of thought. One about those who wanted to retain power at the center, and those who wanted a devolved system. And the ones who wanted a devolved system were also favored a parliamentary system, while the ones who wanted to retain power at the center and no devolution wanted a presidential system. In the course of give and take, I strongly believe we lost the way. Yes, those ones who wanted a parliamentary system agreed with the presidential system after getting the devolved system, and those who wanted the central system, gave up on the devolved system and agreed, having benefited from the presidential system. I am mentioning this, going into this background, because I strongly believe that we have, as a country, bestowed ourselves a very critical problem, and Asha mentioned about Rwanda. Our choice of electoral system design will continue giving us problems when it comes to fair representation, gender equality, and social inclusion. The first past the post electoral system design, combined, coupled with our patriarchal society, the issue of money, and the issue of patriarchy, money, and ethnicity makes it very difficult for a majoritarian system that is candidate-driven to have these special interest groups represented. Back to the presidential system. When you combine a presidential system with the first past the post that have the same characteristics, again, a presidential system is largely candidate driven, all right? So even if we talk about parties, Honorable Nyokabi, until the chicken come home to roost, as long as we have these two systems, the presidential system and the first past the post, they continually disempower political parties, because then the focus is on individual candidates and not the party institution. In the long run, for us to be able to address the issues of fair representation, gender equality, and social inclusion, we have to brave that discussion. It initially showed up in the BBI process. We kicked it out without some regard for what had gone into it. But I believe that is a longer term conversation for the women folk of this country that we must rethink. Rwanda is where it is today because of the MMPR. If you look at all the countries that are doing well in terms of in terms of gender equality, you will see that those countries do not have first the post as the electoral system design. So in the long term, I think we need to have that conversation. In terms of the efficacy of
keep it brief in the interest of time.
Yes, in terms of the efficacy of the strategies that we have, I think at the end of the day, we need to see that they are comprehensive. The comprehensiveness of these, propositions, the enforceability, the practical support for women. I mentioned that we agreed with the president, there should be funding around that, and we hope that that will not create problems. Enforceability, of course, is an issue, and Parliament is at that. But then you need four things in my view. You need a clear legislative backing and enforcement mechanism, which is a real challenge that we're having today. Why has Ichungwa not showed up with some proposal? We need dedicated resources and funding, because that is again what women are talking about. We need accountability frameworks for monitoring progress. And of course, those party lists at every moment to make sure that the gatekeepers are on a short leash and they're not playing games on that. And then finally, we need programs that address structural and cultural barriers to women's participation. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And I think he's raised very important points. And he mentioned of disabilities, person who are able differently. We have lost, unfortunately, a member of County Assembly of Murang'a, and he was representing persons with disability. And one of the questions that's coming up from most of the people is that what was his disability? And may God rest his soul in eternal peace. But that raises a very important question, especially when it comes to the counties. Most of the seats reserved for persons living with disabilities are taken by people who say, you cannot see it, it's not visible, it's internal, but I have my own disability. It could also be financial, And so my question to you, Wanja, is how do we ensure that we have more representation, that persons able differently are not left out?
Thank you so much, Wajohe. That MCA, may his soul rest in peace. It was also interesting to see that the governor had put a poster to fundraise for him because he was unwell, and health is a devolved function, and the governor is fundraising, and the government is telling us that SHA is working, or is it SHIF or SHA? SHA, Shushi. And I think that for me is really also about how even as women, even as we head towards the main goal, which is 2027, we have to engage robustly in the topical issues. This SHA, she, giving birth, a mama, those are really women issues. We have to be at the fore. Secondly, I think in Kenya, we love scapegoating. Have you ever seen how there's a problem here, there's a Dani, but in the end, they'll say, unajua shida ni hao women rep, wanafaa kutoka, wanafanyanga nini? The next thing, they'll be called flower girls. I think as women, we have to be very serious. We have to engage every day to push back against the pushback. Another solution, and I know you've asked me about the people with disabilities, and I would say this because, Frank has said we have never really been able to tackle Article 100, because sometimes it asks the question, who is more marginalized than the other if all of you are in Article 100? Is it that you are more marginal? See, they appear women, youth, PWDs, ethnic minorities. is a woman more marginalized than a youth? Based on what? And that's why maybe those debates around a rainbow, put a marginalized woman here, put a woman who is not marginalized, maybe put Mama Boga, try to see how to put a good mix. The other thing that could empower people with disabilities, women and youth, to be more politically engaged is to find non-traditional allies. You know, the other day, now that Mheshimiwa Nyakabi has said it, there's a time I went to a CMD meeting. In the past, when we go to the women's meeting, we just get people to encourage us in the Lord. But in that day, she brought a Muslim lecturer. The Muslim lecturer was bringing about those real deep, what is his name? Professor, that Hassan, from the university. He was talking from a religious Muslim perspective. And that was helping Muslim women who traditionally are maybe perceived that their culture is oppressing them. But he brought real research. In fact, he told us that, don't know me, that's what I heard. Hadija was more richer than Muhammad. So women have been having money even in Muslim community. That's what I heard on that day. So maybe we need non-traditional allies like the Muslim scholars to advance this issue of gender. Yesterday, for those who are Catholics like me, we saw our bishops in their black robes, pink ribbon. Before you know it, national police, pressure. Ministry, pressure. Education. Have you ever seen a government so efficient? In today's Gazette, all the Gazettes, 5 of them, they are just talking about Catholics. You have called us, the Catholics have called us liars. Maybe in the next approach, Virginia, with your FIDA friends, you can maybe tell the bishops to talk about that. Because I think if the bishops talk, it will become in the Daily Nation, the government will defend. I think we need to get non-traditional allies. These days I'm seeing my Gen Z friends, they have a new religion where they manifest, they call into the universe. We just need to try and try to really start asking who are the other people, because maybe me, I'm converted. So if you tell me these things, you are preaching to the choir. Who are the other people who we need to engage in this to that? Because we have been at it for really so long. The other thing for me is just how people don't seem to understand. Have you ever seen people saying, kwa nini wamama wasisimame kama wale watu wengine? So it's like you are just faking marginalization somehow. So how do we also now make people understand that? You know, you need to be shaken a little bit so that you can know what's happening around you. Once upon a time, Wanjohe, I don't know how much time I have, but once upon a time, when I was in school, many years ago, many of you were not born. One of my lecturers was telling us, he was a lawyer, and not to say that I'm against lawyers, but he was telling me about chicken. You know, there's something about lawyers and chicken. He was telling us, it's a vegetable. So he was telling us that when they come from their home in Western, in a big bus called Bukinyapoa, they tie their chicken in the legs like this so that it reaches Nairobi nicely, and then they go to their home in Botela or Kawangware or Lavington. Now, when they get to their home, because of the way that chicken had been tied so much, even after you untie it, it is still staying in the same place. You have to kick it kidogo, lift its hands like this until it starts walking. And that is what it means for the women and for the affirmative action. We are not saying that the nominated are less off, but they need a little bit of a head start like this so that they can move. Lastly, Wajohe, for me, I think we also need to be cognizant of the global affairs. 2024 is the year of democracy. Half the world's population is having elections. In fact, we are having over 60 countries having elections. And we are also seeing big changes. Botswana, they did that thing. Mauritius, they did that thing. Americans, let's not even get started. So now we have to start asking ourselves, what are these things that we are not seeing globally in the continent, and how can we take that as lessons? For example, in South Africa, because I was following, there was a party that was formed somewhere in the middle, and it denied ANC what has been traditionally a super majority, if I were to use that phrase. So as women, even as we are happy and looking forward to 2027, will there be major political events like new political parties, realities like coalitions, realities like a change in the constitutions? things that could come up that could affect our prospects in 2027. Lastly, really, respect for constitutionalism. Every day we see people, I think Kenya, we have become so litigious. The judges are having a hard time. Huyu ameshtaki huyu, huyu ameshtaki huyu. It seems like the law is not very clear these days. What does this many legal things that are happening, what does this government not respecting the judiciary and what have you, what implications does it have on the women now and moving to the future? So that's what comes to mind.
Thank you very much, Wanja. Makofi kwake. I have, for those of us who are in Addis for the Beijing Plus 30 consultations, I think this is the first time I have seen an event that has a huge diversity of persons abled differently. And the deputy chairperson of the Femnet board is visually impaired. And she had come with her child. And I remember looking at her and thinking to myself, why do we think of ourselves as different? Because at some point she was having her tea. The tea was very hot, and she was holding her baby on the other hand. And I thought to myself, I would not even expect her to be holding this baby because she might burn her own child, but she wasn't. And she was doing it effortlessly. And so when we have a conversation of deliberately including persons abled differently, I think we need to also start showcasing people who are able differently and they are taking on leadership positions. And I credit her name is Grace and she's from Uganda. I credit her for Femnet's deliberate and intentional inclusion of persons able differently, because for them, it is not something they do for show. It is something they do because they are, that's their commitment, right? So thank you very much for your contribution, which brings me to the next question, Asha. What is the role of political parties in ensuring that women, youth, and persons able differently, ethnic minorities are also included? They are elected. They are on political parties. How do political parties contribute, and what is their role?
I'll answer this on two fronts, because there's the reality on the ground and the ideal situation, what we are supposed to do as political parties, and then what happens on the ground. So ideally, a political party is meant to foster all leagues. And when I say the leagues, is we women, the youth, and the persons with disability, minority, marginalized, the SIGs particularly. Ideally, political parties must ensure that there is compliance, even with the 2/3 gender. But now, on the ground, things are a bit different. And that's when I started this morning and told you it starts with you. I think Mheshimiwa Nyokabi can attest to this. Political parties, you're not given the space. You actually grab the space. Nobody will come and say, you know, there's a provision for women. Now this body has 10 men, so we need, no, you'll just have to fight. And ideally, you'll also find a situation where even the women themselves are competing with each other. They are not actually saying we need 4 seats and we are many. Tutajipanga hapo, the 4 of us who will fight, but in fact, a woman is more opposed to another woman sitting in that body and will say we'd rather have a man so that tukose wote. You know that narrative, eh? So that situation has crippled what ideally a political party should be. And that has also brought a situation where unapata nomination list asubuhi vile imetoka. When you go and sleep in a political party, you don't sleep with both eyes closed. Unalala nika uko na nightmare. One eye is open, the other one, because in a span of a few minutes, there's a change of guard. And there are few cronies who sit and decide. And my sister said there's that meeting and then there's a meeting before the meeting. So by the time you find even the second meeting, the first meeting which sets the tone and decides, sometimes is again overtaken by events because they think wamepangia the second meeting. By the time you do the second meeting and you leave, before ufike kwa gate, there is another one, and that is now the final one. So you always sleep with one eye closed. And it's because somehow we contribute to it. Why do I say that? We have a movement, we have the leagues, and I'm particular about the 3 leagues, you know, or the 4, the SIG leagues. We allow that space because ni sisi, you know, if they know mheshimiwa so and so belongs to this league and she's very vibrant, there is no way utatoa huyo mwanamke kwa list, because we'll be all up in arms and we will tell you we'd rather leave this political party tukanyagane basi. But because we allow the status quo, si party leader amesema, na sasa kila mtu anajua party leader, and you know they know how to confuse you. Unaambiwagwa we wachia Nyokabi, wewe tutakupatia kiti tukiingia hiyo serikali, na mtaenda mkianguka wote. So at the end of the day you lose on both fronts because you don't have a support system. So basically, like I said, number one, us believing in ourselves, and then number two is the issue of that leagues, vibrant leagues. And the vibrant leagues are only doable if all of you have a collective role to play. Because sometimes unapata what your women league leader is speaking or the president is different from. So nyi mnapata anasimama anasema sisi wanawake wa chama fulani na hata mjei kama mkaongea. That is the truth. So it's because they've mastered the art, and that is what the top leadership in most political parties, I'm not saying all, like it. And most of them, as you all know, is run by who? So at the end of the day, they fix you. Secondly is also the issue of money. Hiyo nitashinda tu nikirudia. Because you will sit on that high table if there is something you're bringing. And to these male counterparts, they never think that kuna kitu unaleta, you're educated or you're bringing ideas or morals. Hiyo utaambiwa enda pika jikoni, hiyo ni shauri yako. What they want is what are you bringing to the table in terms of financing for the campaign? What are you putting on the basket? So again, ukijipata tena there, you're not there, there is also another challenge. So for me, the reality is we must have strategies to mount pressure, so that the strategies should be geared towards making your voices and spaces be felt and heard. That wanajua, if we have this meeting without 1, 2, 3, hapa kutaharibika. But you see the fact that we are quiet, and then we say status quo imebaki. Si party leader amesema, so all of us are now, not that I'm saying we revolt everything, but you now agree to the status quo. So party leader anaamka, on the eve of nomination unapata mtu amenominatiwa hata hajawahi kuwa kwa hiyo chama in terms of aliregister juzi na hakuna kitu amefanya, and then you people are told wachana tu nayo. Then it also comes to what Wanjohi passed through, that one hiyo mnaitanga diplomacy ati you know you're doing cannibalization, So you find if you're in a coalition, because it's a new setup, you're told because you're in party A and B and you're in the same coalition, you step down for this person, you know. And at the end of the day, who decides is not the common mwananchi or your conscience unachaguliwa. In fact, in the last election, there are instances you'd see a candidate is not told. At the podium, ndo unasikia party leader anasema hata mimi tumeamua fulani anaachia huyu. And you know you're there, you've used your money, you're now confused. So by the time you collect yourself, hauna army, there are no people to fight for you. The decision has been made overnight, ushatolewa kwa box, so you're no longer running and you've put emotions and time. So for me, I come back to institutionalism. Can we now actively move to political parties and acquire your space? Say, I'm in this party not by favor, I'm here by as of right. And as such, I have a contribution to make to the party and be involved in decision makings by being there. You know, most women wanatorokaga, alafu mtu anaanza kurudi kwa chama huko 2026 sasa. Ndio unajifanya sasa you're very active. Huku katikati you are nowhere. So you've not done what we call, you've not put the roots. So you have no structures, no strategy. So you're coming with good faith. So tell me, if you're coming from that bargaining point, you are at a lower bargaining point. Yeah. Compared to your male counterparts, mwenye anakuja na pesa, we una pesa, anakuja na muscle, we una hiyo in terms of his network, mtu amejipanga. Reality is, we lose it at that level. Then you come and say, hii chama ni mbaya, kesho tena next cycle unaenda chama ingine. By the miti, forest ndo tuliambu ina change, nyani ni zile. So utatoka hapo ukifikiria huku kwingine ni better, maybe ni hiyo tu vita ndo labda utapata iko intensity may increase, but it's the same scenario. So for me, I think it is strategy works best for me in political parties.
Thank you very much. I think she's raised very important points in terms of resources. But another way of going about it, if you don't have money, is who are the people that are following you? How many people do you have? Because then that becomes, I really hate this microphone. Because then that becomes your bargaining tool, right? You can go and say, I am coming with a group of women from 10 counties. You know, this is what I'm bringing to the table. And I saw young women, some of them have been nominated. They had young women's G for who? Young women for Baba, young women for Ruto, daughters, CG of who, and they were nominated like that. And the thing we are stressing is that siasa ni kujipanga. Now, the unfortunate bit, and maybe Nyokabi will guide us on this, is that our political parties are not permanent. Jubilee was very strong. Now it's in 2 houses, right? And maybe Nyokabi will guide us on that. But before then, I would want to ask Mheshimiwa Wanjiru, and now I got it. You have reminded us to work and to be ethical, to remember that we are carrying people behind us. But how do we navigate? How do we ensure that even as much as we are being ethical, how do we ensure that tunacheza siasa sawa sawa?
Yeah. Kwa siasa, mostly you will forget that you're a woman. You are all politicians. Iyo mambo ya victim mentality kwa siasa, it does not work. Ati kwenda hapo, like myself, when I was joining politics, I was this very calm teacher, a church elder, but nilifika huko nikajua these things are still part of me, but they will not work here. Nikienda church, I'm still a church elder actually up to now, but kule ni vita, because even after you get the seat, lazima mtasukumana to maintain that seat and maintain the authority and power that you've gotten to do things. So how do we maintain it? Number one, kama mikutano vile imesemekana ni za usiku, you have to be there. Otherwise utapata kilikuramba usiku na uliacha ukiwa kiongozi asubuhi, you've been ousted. You have to be on that decision making table no matter what it takes. As long as ulitisha your position na ukapata, there are things you have to sacrifice actually. So before you embark on this journey, you need to have a meeting with yourself. Are you ready to sacrifice family time? Because the reality is you will have to sacrifice some important parts of your life. Like you will see your children rarely because utachagua uendelee kukaa na familia, the leadership will escape you. You can balance, yes, but you have to sacrifice. For example, if the leaders are meeting, let's say in Mombasa, and you live in Machakos like myself, I have children, of course. I will have to choose. Nibaki nikuje kuambia second-hand information, which mostly is diluted. Kuna vitu hautaambiwa, you know that. Kuna zile hautaambiwa unless you're there in person. Utakuja usikie information and then something will happen, you're like, hii imetoka wapi? Tulidiscuss Mombasa. Because after the main meeting, there are groups that will meet in corners and they will make other decisions. You sacrifice, you have to sacrifice. Number 2, authority yenye umepewa kama kiongozi. You have to use it well, don't abuse it. Kama kuna kitu ulikuwa unafanya before, like there's this point that I wanted to make. There are some societies that zimedominatiwa na men kabisa. So for you to appear as a leader, unaanza huko chini, and you, in your mind, usisahau the traditions of that place. This is a strategy I'm giving you. For example, the ladies, the women leaders in the pastoralist communities, there's something that they impress me with. They start leadership from chini ya maji. Kama alikuwa anafanya kitu na wanawake na watoto, anaifanya, and the men now start respecting that woman. Then anakuja anatokea as a leader. What am I saying? Maintain networks with men. Uwezi kuwa kiongozi mwanamke bila network ya wababa. I'm telling you the truth. Women alone cannot do it. We need the men. And to convince the men that you're up to task, lazima ufanye zile vitu mama kawaida anafanya. Mama number 1 anatrustiwa na vitu mingi sana. Accountability. Details, anaangalia details ya kila kitu. You carry that over to the leadership. Ndio endelee kupukua na trust ya wanaume. Wanaume lazima watakupropel. Women alone, ndio you need the network of women, but you also need the men. That is how you stay in that seat. Wanaume wakianza kusema siku hizi huyo natukojolea, you are done. Hata kama saini mapema. I'm telling you the truth. You must maintain that respect. Kama ulikuwa unaenda huko na kitenge, enda tu na kitenge bado. Kuna kule utavaa mini zako. Because the ground mnajua venye iko, si ni ukweli? I'm saying you have to sacrifice some things. Unapenda mini, ukienda kwa ground utaenda nayo. Ukienda nayo hakuna kiti. Reality on the ground. So, continue being trustworthy. Do something in the community that will make you visible, so that when you appear, you already have the trust of fellow women and the men, the society at large. And also, women need the youth. The youth are our children. Na wanatutrust haraka sana, the youth. Sini ukweli? Myself, I'm a mother. My firstborn is graduating this year. So nasema hivi, if our children trust us, na tuwaambie kuweni na kura. By the way, wanarika najua mmeamka, but nyinyi mmekuwa mkituangusha. You are so loud when it comes to campaigns, but when it comes to the actual voting, unapata kwa nyumba yako ungepata kura 10, but hawajachukua kura. Ni wewe tu na mbaba ako kwa mrengo tofauti. It is true. I am telling you a reality. Now, you know, as a woman, ndio unataka support ya wababa, but sometimes in your own house mtakuwa mko divided. Kama mimi, a personal experience, hiyo election imepita tulikuwa different sides. So kama ni kucelebrate, unaenda huko backyard. Ndio usifanye nini, ndio usimkwaze, because you know these things are emotional. They are emotional. Hakuna vile unataka kukosea mali juu ya elections. Unaenda huko nyuma, actually advice tulipewa kanisa. Unaenda huko unarukaruka, you come back calmly. So that, because there is life after elections. Sisi tunaendelea kuishi. Ya mwisho leo nataka kusema emotional intelligence. Hiyo ni kitu wanawake tumeaccused we don't have. And ukiangalia ni ukweli. A matter that you're supposed to address ukiwa very sober, utapewa nini? A platform, upewe mic, vitu utasema hata mtu atashangaa. Atashangaa kweli, hata hiyo shule unasemanga ulienda, because you have not addressed it. Umetusi watu, umewambia vile utawafuta. I don't want to go into details, but ukikuwa leader mwanamke, emotional intelligence #1. That's all.
Oh, thank you very much. I like that the panelists are giving us very tangible and practical solutions. Last but not least, before I come to you guys, is Honorable Nyokabi. And I want to know, you've worked at Kituo cha Sheria, you've worked with a lot of women rights organizations. What is the role of civil society in ensuring that we increase more women being elected, persons with disability, and youth? Secondly, the question of persons living with disability. Somebody has sent me a note and said, in Mombasa, no PWD in the county assembly. Because of that thing of, I have hidden disability. It is not physical. You cannot see it. It's iko ndani na pia ya mfuko. You know, how do we ensure that we are protecting the seats of persons able differently? And I think I'm at a point where the same way we are mainstreaming youth issues, I think we need to get to a point where every issue that's being discussed, the persons living with disabilities are at the center of it. And finally, our political parties are not permanent. How do we ensure that we as women, we as young people, we as persons with disability are aware of what is happening politically, so that when the next big party is being formed, tuko hapo katikati, tupita katikati yao?
Thank you so much, and really good conversations going on. So I just want to put together the ideas I had and then also respond to the questions. And I want to go back to this question of ethical leadership, because it's really a big plea. You know that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 is also very transformative in nature. It actually does intend that we are a value-laden society. So it's something I would really want us to spend a bit of time on, including feminine power. And I like what some of the points coming out of here, that the fact that you are an ethical leader does not mean you are weak. It just means that you have another set of values that are God-given, and you have a bit of feminine power that you are using. And I say this also as a lawyer. If you look at the legal systems, for example, around corruption and integrity and ethics, I'm convinced we can hack it. We can. Utafungwa. Utaenda tu jela for little money. You can hack it. You won't get the money and the networks that are required to survive the ethical imbalances. And then the other thing I have found in political parties is gender-based violence. SGBV, sexual harassment. By the way, Frank, we need help. Our parties should have sexual harassment policies. I'm telling you, the sexual harassment is from here to the moon. Every man, hata tu doorman pale kwa chama. I mean, it's bad enough for the party leader, but doorman surely, yakili watu unajihurumia. Hata driver, hata kila mtu wa kukupe t-shirt, mtu wa kukupe materials. I mean, I used to even just think, my good Lord, I sleep with you kwa leso za chama surely. Kupata leso za chama surely. Hata si pesa, leso. Na t-shirt. I'm telling you, it is bad. It is terrible. If you go in there and you show 1 inch of lack of values, my sister, you will be something else. If you go there with your values, here to the moon, you will get your t-shirts. You will get your lesos. You will get your party money. And you know, pesa ya chama, you know how you get the party money. What we, by the way, you feed out Twitter siku ingine tuongea hapa. Vile watu wanapata pesa ya chama. Nakuambia, the values are important even for protection. For us as women. For us to be protected from GBV, from SGBV. And it is true, you can be in a party, you can be ethical. You don't have to sleep with anyone in the party. No one at all. You come here to implement the Constitution of Kenya 2010. You come here because you have ideas on how we can promote healthcare. You have ideas on Shisha and how Shisha will work. And you have a whole strategy on Shi and Sha. And you go to the party and that's what you speak about. And you don't agree to anything else. That has been my fear of this value problem. That if you just show a crack. When let me give an example of myself. When I got into the party, I used to drink. So, you know, lawyers are called to the bar. So now we are called to the bar literally. So he one time at just White Rhino, which is a nice hotel in Nyeri town, nikasikia ati ndionekana kwa Uraino. And I wasn't even drunk, I was driving. I couldn't believe it. That is the day I had me and alcohol, never. Nikiingia bunge sikuwa nakunywa pombe, sikunywangi, nitakunywa na mzee wangu, nitakunywa na huko kwetu na watu wetu. Hapa I don't drink. And pia sisi ukifanya kampeni ya pombe 3 times the cost. Kampeni ya chai haina bei kali. Unaenda kama hukunywi na kama party na kama candidate hakunywi bituge pillars ndio watakunywa. If the mimi sikunywi, nyinyi mtakunywa ya nani? No, don't accept. And I saw alcohol, violence, drugs are all on the same line, isn't it? And night campaigns also. Night campaigns are also so bad for us. Follow the IBC regulations. 6 to 6. 6 p.m. cut a campaign. Where you have not gone, utaenda kesho. Don't campaign at night. There is a whole lot of risk, violence, and many other bad things will find you. So that's the point about ethical values. That you come with ethical values. Even like, you know, campaigners fight goons. They tell you ati wacha tuende tukamkanyange. If as a candidate, you allow your goons to go and fight someone else, si ndivyo tu goons wengine pia watakuchapa. So you must be the first one to say no. One time, all my posters were removed. You know, from the, I even went to the police. Then the policeman, now police are funny. Akaniambia sasa, nitashika murderers na rapists, ama watoaji wa poster. Nikarudi home. Akaniambia, enda uweke posters zingine. Na hizo posters ni kama 1 million, they are expensive. Sasa watu wangu wa campaign wakaniambia hata sisi tutaweza candidate. Nikawaambia hapana, hamtatoa za candidate. Tutaweka posters zingine na tutapata posters zingine. So the values are your values. Even for your campaigners, you can imagine if you tell your goons or whoever to do the wrong thing. See now tomorrow even you. And you know, like we suffer so much in the campaigns. You know, you can be Akim Levy anataka kukushika hata matiti or wherever. So ukicheza na vitu kama hizo, what will happen to you? You have to be so rough. And I wanted to show you here how you work in political parties. Yet you are also very nice. You know the theory of ya hivi na hivi. Hebu nishikie hivi niwaonyeshe vile kwa chama mtu utembea hivi na make space. Hivi na hivi una make space. Hivi na hivi una make going forward. You still utasonga na values na ethics utasonga tu. Then the second one on the post-election recovery. This one is important because I saw the values that you stay with are the values that propel you even afterwards. Because if you are a corrupt leader, can you call a corrupt leader to talk to women candidates? You can't. Now you can't even survive after elections. In fact, if you go, for us we have the path of the right and the path of the wrong. If you go on the path of the wrong, now you have to be wrong forever. Including you miss the kingdom of God. because now we hata kwa kingdom hatuta kupata. So when you are an ethical leader is also your post-recovery, because your professionalism, the things that you stood for, your consultancies, you go back. And then I want us also early on to learn how to separate finances. Family finances, personal finances, and campaign finances. I have found a big weakness in our system here, and we do need the Electoral Campaign Financing Act. By the way, the question of money is a big one. We do need the money in campaigns limited by law. Otherwise, if these seats are for sale, we are never going to be able to afford them. So if election campaign financing, which is the role of civil society, is going to be a legal framework. You know what happened in the last election? In the parliament that I served in the 11th parliament, we passed that law. Then the regulations didn't come. Then last year we had, going round until eventually the law was not enforced. But if you come into campaigns, separate personal finances, family finances, and campaign finances. And as much as possible, raise campaign finances from other like-minded people. Don't use all your money. Don't sell your house. Don't sell your assets. In fact, for women, never sell your property for campaigns. Men use system money. Men use public money for the campaigns. We are the only ones, women, who are using personal finances for the purposes of politics. And politics is public law, is a public space. There should be available resources. And that's why for me in this meeting, the Inclusion and Women Participation Fund is something that we really must fight for. There must be public funds supporting women to go to public office. Women cannot continue using personal finances, so that after election now you are left as a desolate person. But as we go on the question of personal finances, SACCOs are very, very important. And also SACCOs, don't borrow from a very high interest earning. And once you get into this money for campaigns, I remember Mother Karua's lesson that campaigns are like bringing up children. So children can grow up in Kayole, children can grow up in Lavington, children can grow up anywhere. So even campaigns, you can have a campaign with or without money. Don't fear, don't panic. I remember the first election I went without money. In fact, that is the election you will be elected. This election of money is also so bad. Mtu shinda ile ya nini, ya kuchoma. Wamama pangeni watu 10. You don't, mtu hata hauzangi agenda. You are so harassed by the money yourself. When you don't have money, my friend, don't you convince people that you are a good leader. In fact, that is how you get elected. Hii ingine, watu 10, watu 5, watu hata wanajuanga. Huyu nyokabi ni ule wa 200. Wakikuona tu mbali wananini, wanashikana. So you don't sell any manifesto, we don't know what you are about. In fact, in the last election, a friend of mine told me that my campaign is Nyokabi, elect me or not. The first campaign, you have a 7-point agenda. When you don't have money, you really water, health, education, Article 43 rights. I'm telling you, when you have some little money, you don't, hata wewe mwenyewe unajua unasema nini. Juu unajua lazima upe watu pesa haraka before wengine wakuje. Na before goons wakuje. You just arrive, njali nitafanya, pangeni line. Apana. That is also not leadership. Leadership is what I will do to water, to education, and all of those things. So money is a whole lot of science we have to do. The role of civil society, the 2/3 gender law. The civil society must help us to get these laws in place. The Election Amendments Act, we've spoken about those, the party candidates list. Number 2, the Inclusion and Women Participation Fund might need to be legally protected. Number 3, Article 100 law. We also need the civil society on that one. The PWD's question, part of the reason why the invisible disability and also financial disability and another one we call sexual disability, yenye ionekani sexual, I'm sexually disabled. So now we need regulations, IBC regulations on special seats. Article 90 as well might need some regulations. You know that the 12 seats, for us to get more women, every party should start with the name of a woman. Every Article 90 list should start with the name of a woman. And then Frank's point about the purple zebra, an older woman, a young woman, a PWD woman on that list. Those are also legal standards that then need to be enforced. And the civil society should help us with those laws now. In fact, the civil society should even help us with the CJ advisory. Remember, this is now 2024. Parliament came in 2020. This is the 3rd session, isn't it? We're going into. So session 1, no bill. Session 2, no bill. Session 3, as we are going to in February 2025, it is now time to remind the Chief Justice, do you see any sign that a bill is going to come? So it is time for CJ Martha Koome to give an advisory. Hakuna haja tutembeange mkono mtupu. Tutembee na advisory kama ya Maraga. Hii bunge inaweza vunjwa anytime, na sasa tuko na Gen Z. Kwa hivyo sasa tukipata advisory, Gen Z watatusaidia hapo pengine. Gen Z watatusaidia, na venye bunge has become unpopular. So now a CJ advisory, but there is a Court of Appeal case, which I think FIDA is the party to. So we can follow the Court of Appeal case. Just, and you know the style for Parliament is to delay these cases. So now FIDA can go into the cases and say, let's hear them, let's not delay. Like what happened with the CJ advisory. You know the cases were hard, FIDA was very helpful, and then eventually now the CJ didn't have a choice because they are, 60 days, remember the Mativo decision, 60 days, so we need to go through all that path again. They get time, then the Parliament can be given 60 days for a new bill, that sort of thing, and then in a short while, if they don't do the same thing, by June 25th, we have an advisory asking for the dissolution of Parliament. And the reason why the advisory is important is to strengthen the hand of the women rights campaign towards getting the bill. So thank you very, very, very much, and I hope I didn't leave anything. Sitaki kwenda home hata mimi na point, hata mimi nilikuwa nimeweka point mingi.
You can keep it for the closing remarks.
Ya mwisho hapana, ya mwisho ya partners. Now, preparing women for 2027. We also need a strategy for the 2027 election. And one of the things that has happened with women candidates is vote protection. Women candidates don't know how to protect the vote. So women candidates, not that we don't get the votes. Sometimes we get the votes, but we can't protect the vote. So voter protection, publicity, mobilization, so that the partners are supporting us on some of those. Women candidates, farasi wawili na punda na rabbit. Women candidates are the rabbit. Because every time they say the two front runners and others, it is a publicity problem. So if we profile our women leaders and give them publicity, they will then be in the front runners. They will be the horses in the campaign, and then other people come on. That all is part of the work that we need to do. But I always say inawezekana na inawezekana. By them msiwahi sikia ati shida msikie is not possible. It is because it is possible. Yeah. And because a day for 2/3 is really possible. If our founders in the Constitution thought that the 2/3 gender rule is important, we are not the ones to let down the 2/3 gender rule. That day will come sooner than later.
Thank you very much. That issue of sexual harassment in political parties is so real that if women politicians were to tell you what they go through, you'll be shocked. But then there are also those who have accepted. In fact, there's somebody who asked me, hii kitu unakataa nayo kwani ni sabuni? And it is a fellow woman. Yeah, kwani iko na mileage na, and it's a real issue. And we need to get to a point where our political parties are actually safe for women. And I dare say for young women, because the minute you join politics, somebody wants to own you. In fact, when you are nani, and that's the truth. Now, with that, I'm opening up just 3 questions. One. Now, I don't know who I will ask, and I'll just give it to. Oh, you want me to select? Oh my God, I can see one very tall hand over there. Keep it short and sweet, tafadhali.
Thank you so much. My name is Honorable Esther Onana. I come from Migori County. Currently, I'm a commissioner in the Revenue Authority. Formerly, I was a nominated MCA and a leader of majority in the House, ODM party. I want to say, by starting by way forward, where are women who vied and are hiding for several purposes? Loss of political loss. Number 2, I'm a woman with disability. There is no sexual disability. I feel intimidated when disability is coupled with so many things. Allow me express it here because this is the safe space for me. We, the women with disability, kama mwanamke wa kawaida ndiye analia, sasa machozi yangu nitapeleka wapi? I vied in 2022 the current MCA for East Kamagambo Ward, alinishinda na 54 votes. Where were they? Yani alipata wapi? Sijigambi, disability, womanhood and everything, alafu mtu akushinda na 54 votes. That's a big question that I'm still asking myself to date. And kindly help me find an answer, because I'm going back 2027. Mheshimiwa Nyokabi, you are my mentor. Please, something to talk about finances. You know, a woman leader with emotions, unajua unakimbia. The men are also there. Then you have family finances, you have your whatever. And then you are just about to reach nomination, and you're seeing one of the accounts is so slim. And then you're tempted as a human being with our human traits that you get into another space. And maybe you drain it off. What happens? Because politics is Kenya, reality is money. Nothing more. I used 5 million. That is the truth, plus. And I also lost. The last one. Let us speak reality. I would kindly request on behalf of women with disabilities in this republic who are vying for positions, that organizations hold all of us hands, and that one means women without disabilities too, to the ballot. We struggle so much and we are left crying blood. That is the truth. So if there is any organization who is working with us, please work with us up to the ballot. Let us also, women, be real. Kama unawania kiti, stand and say yourself. After someone calls me and says, Esther, how is East Kamagambo? I say, please come over and see for me, because maybe I am ditching out while I was on the right track. So that we realize even the 2/3 gender rule. It can come also in that manner. The very last one. The very, very last one. Whenever we talk about party lists or whatever to put it, leadership is leadership and not only on politics. How do we get in? Mheshimiwa Nyokabi, you know, I respect you because you've impacted my life. How can we come that when even at 20 positions come, we have got 12 or 10 CC members? How do we see that at least every county comply that one person or woman's ability is whatever by the governor to be there as a leader? And then maybe if not, we need the 2/3 gender rule apply for women. Because their counties, like we were asking ourselves, when I was a leader in 2017, we had representation of persons with ability in the county assemblies 22. Today we are 17. And it is they say that even some 4 are not clear.
As you conclude.
Thank you so much.
Asante.
I'm done.
I had seen a male champion raising his hand. Oh my God. Very short.
I'll do it very fast. I am Dina Chebitwe from West Pokot County, stepping in for Your Highness Chepekingi, Madam Leah. I have only some few comments and I'll be very fast. First of all, about the law. I know FIDA have been supporting most of the ladies here. They have vied first time, second time, third time, did not succeed. Did you review what made them fail? Others said it's because we were the counting and also being informed. So I was requesting that before, as we have been told, prepare enough, early enough, can we be told how to collect evidence now, so that when it comes that time, I'll be able to produce my evidence to say ziliibiwa aje, so I'll know how to do it. So let us be told now how to keep evidence, so that nisiseme hata sijui ilikuwaje. Aya, number 2, the successful people. We need to have a forum for them. call them on board and tell them now you have gotten it. This is how to conduct yourself again so that you maintain that we have been told today that maintain yourself. So they need to be reminded, because among the successful ones, we have those, because other methods didn't work, they went in plot number 1. So because they used plot number 1 and they were appointed now to be CCs, they were made chief officers, and they don't really qualify to those seats, as you have been told, like in Uganda, they were given seats just because they are a woman, they are women. So it's even if you're a woman, but let us get the right women. Now that they have come on board, put them together for another workshop, call them on board so that we sensitize them on way forward. And then to Franklin, I think sensitization should begin with him, my brother, because he has said he has set standards for the women, because he has said, you should do more. No, we can't do more. We need to be judged equal, because we have issues like FGM. If you have not undergone FGM, you can't be given seats. If you're a widow, you can't be given seats. The living with the disabilities, you can't be given seats. So those standards, how are we working towards those standards? Thank you very much.
There was a gentleman, and I would want us to be inclusive and not leave them behind as well.
Thank you. My name is Bonventure Ndubi, he for she, from Busia, representing Mama Mary Makoha Rape Organization. As I concur with the many that have talked, panelists, that the political party, in fact I agree, leave alone even money. Yes, money is important, but political parties as what matters. For example, just to give an example of Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga. If Gladys Wanga was left to battle with the Evans Kidero, in terms of financial muscle, your guess is good as mine. But when she got that ODM ticket, you know what happened. So we have to deal first with the political parties. And how do we deal with the political parties? Let us not be excited by the political parties list of aspirants, but the strongholds. We ensure. We have talked of changing the system. The system may not change by 2027, but unfortunately, the Kenyan political parties is individuals. We have UDA, we have ODM, we have WIPA, we have Chap, we have Ford Kenya, we have NC. And don't ignore Mrima. Mrima, I'm sure he's going to be very great force come 2027. So, as FIDA, our big sisters, our big brothers, Ngek, please target those people. Have a conversation. You can call a caucus of women, have a conversation with those people, agree with them that at least from your stronghold, leave alone even 290 to unataka 94, apana, from your stronghold. For example, ODM, Western and Nyanza, munatupea women wangapi MPs. Twende Ukambani, Wiper, munatupea women wangapi. Wachana tuwaletee watu kutoka Busia, kwa sababu kama Wiper itakupea mwanamke kutoka Busia hatapita. Kama UDA itakupea mwanamke kutoka Busia ama Nyanza hatapita. So concentrate on the stronghold as the Labour Party of the UK does, and we shall see the result. Mwisho, we cannot lose gender equality on election and the same time on appointments. Please, at least let us have one objective. At least, kama tutashinda political parties, but employment we must get to that gender rule. Thank you so much.
Let us move to, I'm the person standing between your lunch. Let us move to this side, tafadhali. I don't want you to start looking at me badly, but if you give me permission, we will allow more.
Thank you so much. Wamama power. Wamama power. My name is Engeli Brian and work with the Center for Minority Right Development. First, we can all agree that the affirmative actions have actually done very little for us in terms of advancing participation of women in governance and especially the electoral processes. If you are a woman with disability, unaambiwanga na umevaa MP, unaambiwanga step down uende ukwe nominated, si ndio? Ama ungoje, ama uangalie zile viti za PWDs. And same case happens to youth and other special interest groups. And maybe my question would be to Mheshimiwa Nyokafi, and probably Frank, you can weigh on it, on the effective strategies we can use to enact Article 100 so that we can provide for electoral colleges for the special interest groups so that wamama wachue maneno yao wachague watu wao, si ndio? Vijana pia wachague mtu wao, so that we take away that particular responsibility from political parties because it has disenfranchised this particular group of people. And secondly, CMD usually facilitates People's Dialogue Festival. Munajua PDF, na ngapi wanajua PDF? So it is actually a very good platform for women to dialogue around governance issues. And for the next years, PDF, sisi kama watu ambao tuna sukuma masuala ya wanawake, tunaomba Frank atupe village moja wa mama waongea maneno yao, si ndio? Simunipigie makofi. So that Mheshimiwa Nyokavi akuje pale aongee na wamama wenzake. That is what empowerment we are talking about. And lastly, when you look at a bird does not perch on a branch because it believes on the branch, that the branch cannot break. It is because it believes in its wings. So as women, as you get into this particular murky waters of politics, just believe in yourself. Sawa sawa. Asanteni.
Thank you very much. If time allows, if you give us 10 more minutes, we shall come back. Oh, sorry. We are talking about inclusivity. I will allow one more from this table.
Hello. So my name is Videlis Njoki. So I have a concern when it comes to umesema ya kwamba preparation is very vital. And also you've talked about integrity, which is also a key important aspect for a leader. So when you vie for political positions and you already know and you're well prepared, lakini tunajua siasa ni chafu. Ni ukweli, siasa ni chafu. That's true. That's in public domain. So I'm wondering, kama mimi as someone with integrity, ethically, morally upright, lakini sitaki kufanya hizi vitu za kando kando, but we know you need to be financial, having the manpower, finances, and you need to show what you've done, your past experiences. But if I do not have the finances or power or financial power, so how am I going to show that it's truly, I will bring in development, but I don't want to compromise my integrity, I don't want to compromise my ethics. So how are we going to tell the people that that I'm going to serve them? So in additionally, sorry, I know najua time imesonga kidogo, but my question is to Mheshimiwa Nyokabi. You've talked about that you mentor people, various people, they've raised their hands here that you're mentoring them. So what do you do after pre-mentorship? It's okay, you've given them the mentorship, but after, if they've lost the positions, so what are you giving them? What are you telling them so that they have the morale to keep on going, to keep on vying for these positions and the way forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quickly, I will allow you to answer one round of questions. And as you answer, Frank, I would want to know if PDF is devolved. Are we having these conversations in the counties? And I don't think that gender issues are women issues. I think they are, as you rightly say, human rights issues. So the barazas that you host must not just be women conversations, it should be both genders. But are they there?
Thank you for the questions. I'll begin with the campaign financing question. We just came from Naivasha yesterday morning as a group of civil society organizations in governance, elections, women rights, and such. That is LGR, CMD, TI Kenya, CRECO, FIDA, ILOG. And the focus of our conversation was actually on how do we tip over this issue of campaign financing. Because clearly it's not about political goodwill. It is about political resistance. And we ask ourselves, what mischief is this law seeking to cure? And the question of why is there political resistance? And this is a very important conversation that the women folk have to lead and make sure it is happening. Because I mentioned earlier the electoral system design, which is majoritarian, is a money factor again. The issue that we concluded as civil society actors in this space is that we need to separate these two issues. One, about disclosure and expenditure. And largely, the problem that we have in Kenya is that you can see every election, immediately after an election, or immediately, or closer to the election, there is a major economic scandal. This is either preparing to fund elections or looting to recover the campaign finances. And therefore, if women have to succeed, then they have to work hard to address the illicit money, particularly in our campaigns. Unfortunately for women, you are good creatures. You do not have a lot of the dirty money. And you only have mostly good money that you are not willing to dish out. No one sweats out there to make money and go dishing out. And therefore, that disadvantages you. Enjoy is not going to dish out money competing against an MP who's been the contractor themselves, the patron of CDF, and they have been oversighting and budgeting for that. So we have to address the issue of illicit money in politics, because the issue of leveling the playing field is a mirage, right? If we do not have mechanisms to especially clean politics out of that money and clearly find that mischief that we want to cure. The second issue is the issue of, I don't like this conversation of right women. You know, one of the things that I saw in 2013 was how the majority young women who are nominated were being lambasted. You know, and majority of those heavy captions of Malaya girlfriends actually are not coming from men. The people who have branded young female MCS, Malaya, and girlfriends of politicians is fellow women. I mean, who's going to be prepared and mentored into the possibility of contesting? How many of those candidates that are running today are actually beneficiaries of nominated slots? Where did Cecil Mbarire come from? From nomination, all right? So they are our sisters, they are our daughters, all right? We must cover them. You know, there is always this expression. As a young man, if you found your mother sitting badly, all right? Do you run to report? Or what do you do? It's a very difficult issue. How do you tell your mother to sit properly? Right? But that is something that we must tell our daughters. If they are not sitting properly, they have to be told to sit properly. That is mentorship. Instead of reporting them of how they are better girlfriends to the politicians and Malayas, instead of mentoring them. So this issue of right, do we need quantity now or quality? Quality can be injected. We certainly have a quantity problem. Whether they use their vertical CV or horizontal CV to get there, it is our duty to make them leaders. So that point, we can't have male crooks accessing political positions. What were Megakati and engineering, and then you are busy telling some good lady there for simply exercising their other rights. All right? Then you brand them. I think that conversation has to be stopped so that we can mentor these young women into those leadership responsibilities. I didn't say that women must bring the standard of ethical leadership. My good neighbor from West Pokot. I said it is important that women show an example of what transformational leadership should be, that it's a viable, essential style of leadership, right? And because the electorate are generally very punitive for women found to be, conduct and becoming, we have to be protective and make sure that we walk that path. And I think my former boss has elucidated at this point much more in detail on why value-based leadership is very important, more so for women leaders. And ladies have some level of shame. I mean, the things that men go out there doing shamelessly, we cannot copy-paste that and believe that then there is going to be. The voter will not see any difference. And we're trying to get the voter, because the data that Honorable Nyokabi gave confirms that the voter does not have a problem with the candidate, the woman candidate, if they have checked their boxes correctly. Out of 11%, 10+% get elected. All right? That's an A. So we must deal with the issue of how do we get past the gatekeepers in political parties, and then now inspire confidence in the voter to continue granting women leaders an opportunity. Finally, on PDF, CMD is founded as a multi-party dialogue platform. And that is work that we are seriously engaging in. 6 years ago, we realized that this country has a problem with the type of democracy and politics that we do. We developed this concept of saying, you know, politics and democracy is a co-creation exercise. We need to be collaborative. And therefore, we began this People Dialogue Festival with an argument that we need to bring down these leaders in the penthouse and the rest of the citizens from the basement to a level playing field where we can have conversations about our political governance, about our socio-economic issues. We have been doing that. 2025, we're going into the 7th edition. We initially had a women village. But then the feedback we got from the participants was that this is the same strategy that has been used to put women in some corner to have a conversation. So we are mainstreaming the issues of gender equality and social inclusion across our villages. We have even gone further to lower the age of, and we have had a huge battle with the Ministry of Education, saying, you know, you can't take politics to school. We say now we'll take students out of school to politics. Kimberly here, who's accompanying me today, was, I think, in 2022, she was in school uniform as the head girl of Buruburu Girls, speaking at our event brought by the mother. Today she's back as pursuing her degree at Strathmore, organizing more schools and young female like her to come out of the classroom and have a direct engagement on the issues with the leaders. We have gone further to develop various strategies. Now we have Gumzo Mtandaoni. On 26th, we are beginning a huge conversation with IEBC. And IEBC has taken a lot of time, but they have agreed. IEBC's challenge is that they are not given an opportunity to express themselves. And young people dismiss IEBC on the face value. So we're creating a conversation and we're saying Gumzo Mtandaoni. We're going to bring in IEBC and asking young people, let us begin this conversation now. You are not being registered because your member of parliament has not given IEBC the budget. All right? We have now also Gumzo Shuleni. Like tomorrow, we have a function at the M-Pesa Foundation where we are targeting the 14 to 18-year-olds, having serious conversation about issues that are affecting Kenyans. And then we have now Gumzo Mtaani, where we're working with the counties. We are now in 9 counties and devolving that conversation to make sure that people are engaging in a collaborative democracy. They are articulating their issues directly to their leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Wanja. I think she deserves makofi because of the good work he's doing. And include your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you so much, Wajohi. When we start critiquing issues of affirmative action, we have so many examples. Once upon a time, Uhuru Kenyatta was nominated to parliament. He rose to become a deputy prime minister. He became a president. He's now a big shot in the East African community. You know his story. Once upon a time, Moses Wetangula was a mayor-nominated MP, if I were to use that phrase. He's now the speaker. Once upon a time, Cecily Barire was a nominated MP. She's now the governor. Once upon a time, Joki Dongo was a nominated MP. She's now a serious Supreme Court judiciary person. So we do not lack examples to show that when people are given a chance, if they love leadership, they can excel in other facets of public life. Speaking of that, there's a time Mheshimiwa Nyokabi had invited us to a forum, and she told us, in America, the Democrats have something they call the Emily's List. The Emily's List is where the Democrats pinpoint women who are high potential, who love politics, and they start working with them. Say, for example, Honorable former MCA May here, she has already vied in a community like Kibera. That is a high potential woman. So, if akama kuna hiyo nyota, why go look further if you can only amplify her a bit? And I think maybe to our friends in FIDA, you need your own Emily's List. You might name it after any of us here. I don't know who you'll name it after, or your FIDA director. Have a high potential list of women who are already starting to show like they have a nyota for vying. Those Gen Zs who are in their element, who are very busy fighting, those already have shown that they love politics. That way, I'm sorry to say, not all of us can be politicians. There are people who can be number twos. There are people who can be in the executive. Lakini ukiona ule mtu mwenye anaongea, make your own Emily's List like the Democrats. And there has been research that shows that those in the Emily's List are electable, including the lady in Kisii who is now, I think, a congresswoman or senator in America. That, I think we need to talk about. We need to talk about technology. We are in the age of technology, algorithms. These days, if I go to Google and I search, I want a sofa. When I go to Facebook, I usually see photos of sofas. I don't know how they get it. Have you ever noticed if you read something, it's all over your feeds? So those algorithms could be good for the women, but they could be bad for the women if the other people are able to access and hijack your messaging. So there's a way they do it whereby certain messages go on top of the feed, others go down. These same big tech companies are the ones that are, in a way, promoting tech-facilitated GBV. Because how else will I insult you unless I join the Facebook and the Twitters of this world? So even as we talk about tech-facilitated violence, even as we talk about people drawing me a cartoon, putting it on TikTok and putting that annoying songs, you kasongo, as in, I'm annoyed, yes, but what is the role of TikTok? Have you ever seen that song is only put when someone is being oppressed? So, as in, I'm annoyed, yes, but how do I get TikTok to remove my cartoon? You know those things. So what is the role of those owners of those big tech? You know, in the next election, people will be having political rallies online. We saw the Gen Zs are in their 50s and hundreds of thousands on the online. How are you prepared as a woman? I also think there is a need for flexible funding from the donors. Sometimes the donors, you know, maybe I could say this because I usually hear what women say. Sometimes they are not very happy with the money, with how you do your programming. You know, women are very, wanasema, mimi nikienda watu wananitisha t-shirt. When the NGOs are inviting them, they are telling them political skills, IEBC. Then they'll tell you, I was educated by NGO A, NGO B, NGO C. And then Frank, in his big heart, he also did the same training. So how do you also co-create your election things? Because we see a lot of silos, a lot of training, a lot of conferencing. But these women are saying, why should I come to Nairobi? Why can't you come to Kibera? You know, because they are saying, ukikuja, Frank, you know, Frank has supported me many times. If you come to where the women are, they'll be telling you, unajua ukikuja ground, hao mama watasema, unajua alikuwa ameleta wazungu. Okay, we are also black here. Kuna venye inakaka network. Alikuja na wamama, wanaongea kizungu. Sasa unakaa mtu wako na ma networks.
As you conclude.
Yeah, so last but not least, I think as women, we also need to be cognizant of time. You know, since I came, I heard people saying that we have 3 years to elections. Is it really 3 years? Ebutu hizo Saturday zote na Sunday. Accidentally, by good luck, by bad luck, by the grace of God, you can fall pregnant in that course of that time. So you remove 9 months. In my radar, we have less than 1.5 years. If you look at all those two dynamics, let us start looking at it as if time is moving. And lastly, as a woman, I think it's also good to just be pragmatic, go where the things are happening, listen to what the people are saying, and most importantly, just be authentic. I think there's so much pressure to be like this, like that. Oh, keep up with the Jones, speak English of the nose, look like you live on the heavens. I think people also appreciate authenticity. You just talk with them. The rest we shall talk. And lastly, because I know I've been told to finish, this mentorship thing, I think sometimes we also pressure other people. You know, the other women who are successful, you know, they also have other things to do. They have a husband, maybe 2 husbands, children. They are also usually really busy. Me, I'm of the view that mentorship should not be at, I'm calling you, we sit for 3 hours, we keep talking and talking. You can also be mentored through observation. If I look at Honorable Nyokabi, how she's moving her things, and apanga, that is mentorship. Look at the women you like. If I go to the social media, Susan Keheka, she's always doing her social media promoting. That is mentorship. I'll improve on that. If you look at women CSAs who are always in the element, you can just observe them and they mentor you. So do not exert so much pressure that you have to mentor me, hold my hand. You look and be held in spirit. Because, you know, there are people who also do things, but they don't have to meet you all the time. And that's how now we also don't feel very disappointed when you call someone they are not picking.
Thank you.
So that's what's coming to mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wanja. Asha?
Thank you. For me, I would talk about bullying, especially cyberbullying, because that for me is key, where you find people are insulted every day. She just mentioned the Kasongo thing. But it depends with how you want to look at it, because you find most people, and perhaps slightly before the revolution, were moving around universities, a pool of friends from the legal profession, just to go around and now have a touch with the young people. And they would tell you, where are these role models, what she raised. And they will tell you, huyu alikuwa kwa hii scandal, huyu alikuwa na hii scandal. And then I would ask them, that is their private life. And I remember that time there was a prominent person, fortunately this time it was a man, and he had a big scandal at that time, and the question was, fulani alifanya hivi. But we asked, I kept telling them, look at what he did in his private capacity, in his public life. Hii vitu yake ya private, itakuwa headache kwa bibi yake na watoto wake, ama bwana yake na watoto wake. Because now we keep on looking for things. And I remember one instance of a leader in this country who was one time in an informal setup, and someone made a joke and said, me, I know why you are nominated. Si nyinyi ni wale wa kulalishwa. And she made a joke and laughed sarcastically. Akauliza huyo mwanaume, a good question. Hata wewe najua umelalisha wangapi, si basi tulalishane sahi. Then the guy was very offended. Akasema, how do you talk to me like that? And said, what was, you feel bad that I asked you this question? Didn't you feel embarrassed that you asked me this question? So sometimes you find this bullying is basically because you can see the potential in this person, so you have to look for something. And unfortunately, what Frank has said, most of them ukichunguza vizuri, you find it is sent by another. Those are proxies, but they are sent by a woman. So I find my sister here a competitor. Instead of me being, as a woman, we expect you to have decorum and some, dignity in you, but now I want to unleash the dogs. So what do? Sorry to use the example, I use Frank. Naambia Frank, now you be the minion. So they start attacking you and insulting you. And you find most women, because of that, especially the younger women, anaanza kusema, this terrain ya kutukanwa kila siku, I cannot do. Lastly, for me, the most important and crucial thing is money. I agree money is important, and I say it is quite important. However, there are also cases of people who vied and won successfully without using money. I come back to what I said, and I pray by the end of this conference that we learn, as women, we all have our own support base. And that support base is the most important thing. If you move to people who've actually been in electoral cycles for years, they'll tell you they had a team behind them. So do not walk in a silo. Don't say, at me, I know everything. And that's unfortunately where, as the younger women, we face a problem. So I look at Nyokabi and say, huyu ni mzee hata elewa kitu mimi nasema, as we know everything. You know that mentality, tunajua kila kitu. Have your own team. And I don't say at you, mtutapigia kila saa to irritate that person. But I'm saying, have your own team that will walk the journey with you, will guide you, so that these people will be your team, because you will eventually need it emotionally, psychologically, financially, and even support-wise. So those who don't have money, as I conclude, you'll find that they were very strategic, and they found people to go mashinani, people who believed in them, who were actually walking door to door with them.
Thank you very much. Honorable Wanjiru.
Yeah, as I conclude, I would like to tell every aspiring woman that right now in Kenya, when it comes to lies, I think we've reached a saturation level. Kenyans can no longer take lies. So if you have ideas that are genuine, this is the time to start rising with those ideas, because Kenyans are frustrated all over. If you rise with one genuine idea, they will welcome you. This is your opportunity, your opening to start making way for yourself for 2027. As I was coming to this meeting, I asked one of the officers, how do you think women can set aside or make funds for campaigns? And she told me, I think wajipange tu, meaning hata hakuna mtu anajua how else we can make or have money for campaigns. I have seen several members set aside a fund right now. They are sitting right now. They were elected. Wameanza kuweka pesa kando ya kujipanga nini 2027, meaning unaweza kuwa na hiyo idea, but at some point you will need funds. Itabidi kuenda zako kidogo ndio upate wengine wa kuongezea. Ni kama harusi. Huwezi kuwa unaoa alafu unahitaji 2 million na uko na 50k. Si ni ukweli? Lazima uwekele pesa kwa meza, wengine wa kusupport. Lazima uko na pesa. Kitu kingine ya mwisho about mambo ya security, hiyo ni kitu, it's a reality on the ground. And I'm saying this with a lot of sadness. We are not yet in the campaign period, but we are seeing what is happening to women all over. It is sad, it is disheartening. So in my mind, I'm like, what will happen when we are now in the running towards the campaigns? Nataka kukwambia hivi, lazima ufanye kama wewe. You must have your own security arrangement. Usingoje mtu akutetee. I'm telling you this in advance. Kuwa na kama a crisis management sort of arrangement. People you can call. People in the security sector. Lazima ujipange. Because like our former president said, and I know in controversial, it starts with you. Your own security. This thing is not worth dying for. Lazima ukuwe na security yako umejipanga nayo. Na ya mwisho mambo ya technology. The perspective that has not been addressed. If you are aspiring to be a leader, usitumie mtu yoyote picha yako kuwa una nguo. It will be used against you in 2027. Anza na decorum saa hizi. Hizo vitu fake una post. They will come back to haunt you. Uachana nazo kabisa. Start behaving as the leader you are right now. And as I finish, I want to say that women are capable. Let us support each other. Let us support each other. Si lazima ikuwe wewe. Support another woman. Akiingia hapo pia wewe utarukiwa na some sparks somewhere. Sawa. Thank you so much.
Yes, Mheshimiwa Nyokabi, and I should hold the microphone for you so that I cut you short. Thank you. Okay, very quickly on the weak parties. By the way, this is also another big role for CMD and also civil society. In fact, one of the ambassadors told us with Frank that we have an Uber approach to political parties, and I'm an African ambassador. This is not even an African problem. This is a Kenyan problem. South Africa, Ghana, Tanzania have enduring parties. We are the only ones who have refused. Our parties are actually juvenile delinquents. Zimekataa kugrow kabisa. So we also did something else we called the curse of the ruling party, which is very much a Kenyan incident. KANU ruled and died, NARC ruled and died, PNU ruled and died, TNA ruled and died, Jubilee Party ruled and died, UDA. The Paul bearers are ready. So now we here gathered, very interested in the place of women, must have political party programs. We must start political party programs now. Party hygiene, party reforms. Parties follow the law by and large. That is why for me I have a lot of trust on the law, because parties have to comply with other laws. Remember, our elections are very legalist.
Our elections are legal elections, constitutional elections. So now making sure that the women issues are part of that party organization. And it will take a lot. Our party leaders, in fact, their party barons are very, very big. Our center court of politics has only 3 people. I think Baba, the president, and the former, who I don't know, I think Squeezy ameanza kuenda league karibu na Waipa. So now we really must do something. FIDA, that's a big, big challenge because that's the next battle of the war. It's political parties. And our democracy is a party-based democracy. We speak about independent candidates, and it's true. Women and special interest groups can consider being independent candidates, but ours is a party democracy. Independent candidates are, in fact, in law, they are called confused candidates. But they are there just because of the weaknesses of parties. But we must mainstream parties and have more enduring parties and stop this Uber approach. And then, if parties have a problem, coalitions have 10 times the problems of political parties. I saw in the last election, many women got party candidates, but now couldn't get it in the coalition. Your coalition is what Asha was saying. Unasikilia kwa podium, kwamba your coalition gave up all the candidates. I remember a friend of mine who was a candidate, was very distressed. Your party has already sold. Imeshauza viti zenyu kwa another bigger party. So coalitions are big, big problem. And then these questions that Esther was raising about where do the women who lose go, partly is to be a leader without portfolio. Because remember, you are an issue-based leader. So if water is an issue to you, health is an issue to you, and I like that the my Nyandaro friend is here. I mean, like you guys that have no maram. You know, sometimes in Nyeri, si tunakuanga na maram. We want to complain kwa counties zingine tunakuta hawa hata maram hawana. So make maram an issue. You know, so that whether you have an office or not, whether you are the MCA or not, health is an issue for you, and it should be an issue whether you have an office or not. But then for the women who win, the quality versus quantity debates, and this one has been long settled. Christine, you would know for a long, long time, that it is quantity first. Let's first get the 2/3, and then we can worry about quality. Because if we go to quality before quantity, we are putting the cart before the horse. So quantity first, 34%. And so now, when women get elected, leadership is a skill and an art. The leaders you see that are very refined, if you see Senior Counsel James Orengo on the floor of Parliament or whatever floor, it is 30 years of experience. You cannot expect another 2-time leader to speak the same way. It's a skill and an art. So how are we investing in skilling our women? Even say like the assembly. Women come to the assembly and then they are alone on that assembly. And you know, these are boys' schools. Assemblies are boys' schools. All assemblies is Alliance boys. Ni Uraino. Decisions are made in the Uraino, where you don't go. So now, if you put women in the assemblies, what are the tools that you are giving them for them to perform? And then documenting the performance of women. I was sad to hear somebody say how affirmative action seats have not helped. That is not true. We have women reps who are now in cabinet, isn't it? We have women reps who are governors. Gladys Wanga, had she not been a women rep, have nyota ya governor haingepatikana hata ya Kawera. Sicily also coming, Wavinya, all those are former members of parliament, some of them nominated Mili. So affirmative action seats have helped us. And even some have been nominated MCAs and then risen, like Waruguru, risen on to parliament. So affirmative action seats are helping us. But then documenting, I remember like the 11th, where we passed the family laws that had been coming to parliament since 1968. So we must document the place and the performance of women in the assemblies. And then lastly, this question of illicit financial flows. This fight for money, I personally have worried that is a fight we can't win. We are never going to have the amount of money that men can spend in an election. If you had 100 million today, I can tell you, my sister, you won't spend it in buying a seat. Ata ya governor. You do other things with that money. So now it is up to us as the women rights movement to stop illicit financial flows from coming into our politics. And using the law and using systems, anti-money laundering and all other systems. And in the meantime, like this last election, 2022, watu kimewaramba kuwaramba. So I don't see Kenyans, and man is rational. I don't see rational Kenyans going back the way they went. They are really crying. Na hawajamaliza kulia. Hii bado ni mwanzo wa ngoma. So by 2027, Kenyans will elect good leaders, and we have to be part of those good leaders who will be elected. Even as we agree that money is important, of course you must have money for your campaign and all that. But the battle for money is a much bigger battle. It is a battle for law, it is a battle for systems, it is a battle for the system that is rigged against us, and we are never going to have that money. By now, I think the Governor seat is 100, 200 million. Even just an MP seat is 50 million. The money you need to contest is more than what you will earn. So there is something is very wrong with the country, and we need to fight those illicit financial flows. The other thing is also having regular conversations like this. I'm feeling very happy myself, but also feeling lost. So where do we take all this knowledge? Inaenda wapi? FIDA, where do all these things go? So because you don't want to talk now, and then next year we say the same things, uchaguzi na karibia. By the way, you know, by now, men are cracking their opinion polls. They are looking at how popular they are. When we did the G7, we actually found from Angela Ambitho, it is only the women who are not our clients. All the men are now cracking their popularity numbers. Esther Onana, who lost by 54 votes, who is helping her to keep her popularity high so that in the next election she can get the 54 votes. So now we must have programs that are urgent, the legal program, the political party program, the financing program, the women preparation of candidates program. They must start running now. Otherwise we'll be here again in 2028 lamenting that we still haven't achieved the two-thirds gender rule. And just the numbers again. The election of 2013, IBC did a proper mathematical calculation. There were 15,000 male candidates, 15% were elected. There were only 1,000 female candidates, 14% were elected. So it actually meant in Kenya, the chance of a man and a woman to be elected is 1-1. The difference is the numbers of candidates. So 1,000, 14%. 15,000 men, 15%. So if we start now, it is actually indeed possible for Kenyans to elect good men and women into leadership, which is the battle that we have on our hands. So please, FIDA, let's not also, you know, Kenya, we talk a lot, we have good plans, good policies, and that is the end. Somebody else comes, takes our plan, Dubai anaenda anajenga, mwingine anaiba hata isha, anaenda ana-implement, sisi tunabaki tu hapa, tukisema serikali tusaidie. Hii serikali itusaidie, tujisaidie wenyewe.
Thank you very much. Makofi kwa panel. I sincerely apologize to those that I did not, whose questions I didn't answer. Please feel free to reach out to the person you'd want to respond after this. Finally, I think it's important that we have that conversation of ethics and translating development into votes. I think that's extremely important. That's the only way we are going to move forward. Na kwa hayo mengi na machache, I hand over to our able MC. Makofi kwake as she comes.
Thank you. Let's give this panel a round of applause. So to appreciate. I love the practicality. I love the fact that there are specific things that we've been told to do. Let me see by a show of hands again. Who here has ran or intends to run for a political seat? You have ran or you intend to run? We can see that we have quite a strong population, isn't it? FIDA, you can see the work ahead. And I think for the team ahead, we can see. So thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists. I'll request that we take just one of the guests that was supposed to speak to us in the morning. Her name is Brenda Isabel. Brenda is here with us. She was held up by another meeting, and I'd just like to give her very few minutes, isn't it, Brenda? We can agree. Just a few minutes, greet us. She's representing LGIA, Senior Elections and Governance Specialist.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Kina mama oe. Oe. My name is Brenda Isabel. I work for the Electoral Law and Governance Institute for Africa. So I'm here to support the work of FIDA. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here in the morning. Nilikuwa mahali na wafadhili napigia FIDA mgambo kwa kazi nzuri ambayo wanafanya. I just want to give a few remarks to just keep encouraging the women in this room to keep doing the wonderful, amazing work that you're doing. And also, yeah, and also to just appreciate the panel that we had before us. I mean, I came in and the conversations were very interesting. So thank you very much for sharing your perspectives, being very honest, so that we can learn from each other. We have talked about so many issues, whether it is sexual harassment, how to campaign. Honorable Nyokabi has shown us how to push people aside. I will try it also. And somebody here was about to offend lawyers. And I will see her over lunch. I heard her say that kuku ni vegetable, which I agree. Yeah, so yes, I just wanted to also emphasize that the work that FIDA does, to be honest, is a lot in this country. We thank institutions such as CMD that we have worked together on a project we're implementing called the Strengthening Electoral Accountability and Inclusivity Program. The banner you see behind us is part of the work that we've been doing for FIDA. I know FIDA has done a lot of work in the past election. We had FIDA training pro bono lawyers, I think 70, to support women to get access to justice. Ukikosewa kwa chama na hauna pesa ya wakili, FIDA was providing that. FIDA was able to work towards setting up the first SGBV court in Kenya. And after that, 12 more have mushroomed. By now, I'm sure the statistics are going up. So again, that is good work for FIDA. FIDA has made sure that we have amended the work with the Ombudsman Office to amend P3 forms, so that from the aspect of SGBV, the right evidence is collected and we're able to prosecute successfully. FIDA has had a leadership academy in the past election. So as we are thinking through our strategies, some of us also who work in the back end to ensure that we have the support that we have to hold these meetings and do the wonderful work that we do, we are trying to strategize to see how best our next election program is going to look like. Tumewasikia, mnasema tunawaita conferences mingi. Franklin is here, the ED of FIDA, Annie Reri, thank you for inviting us, is also here. And many of us who work in this space can tell you sometimes wafadhili have their own ways of how we can implement and use these funds. We would love to give money for campaigns, for example, but sometimes tunafungwa mikono. But these are important conversations to have with them. Sometimes when we reflect quietly, we tell them what worked and what did not work. So we're going to also try and push to see how best we can give you better support in the future. Also, we take note of the recommendation that we coordinate better so that we're not overwhelming you with trainings that are similar. So we're going to try and coordinate that better. So mine was just to say hi. I will not stand between you and your lunch. So thank you very much for gracing our program, and keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing. And I pray that many of you get elected in the next election. Amen. Asanteni.
Thank you so much, and thanks for encouraging us. Not only are we are running with resources, and we are seeing the capacity coming together, isn't it? I'm seeing there's a group here that is very happy and very excited. So I think the work is coming together very well. Thank you. So now I want us to agree that because we've enjoyed that wonderful conversation, we have eaten into our lunchtime, isn't it? We all know. So now I would propose that we try and eat very quickly. Vile njaa inatuharakisha hata it won't be a struggle. Sindio? Tutakula tu na turudi. So if we can take at least 30 to 45 minutes, right? And we agree to be back by, that will mean we are back here by 3 sharp. We need to be seated. That way we can ensure that we have the conversation and we agree on the things that are going to be our next steps. Is that okay? So lunch is being served at the main restaurant. So if you go down, the staff will direct you. But please, I believe that everyone has a lunch voucher. Please carry yours for proof of membership of this team. And looking forward to seeing you promptly at 3. If we're able to start before, the better. And for those who need assistance in getting to the venue, there's a vehicle that will enable us to be able to get there. So they are downstairs waiting. Okay. So there's a vehicle that's available. So please just, when you get down, they'll be able to get you to the lunchroom. And for the panel that has just left the stage, I'll request that you remain so that we can have a photograph. Now, Chair, I'll ask you to remain too. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Someone wants to pray for food. You're volunteering. Asanteni sana. So we said women are organized. The MC, you've told us, Wanjiro, that women are organized. We can see the organization.
Because you gave us a strong panel and they were able to do it very well. So let us first of all appreciate them by giving them showers of blessing. And then we can say showers of blessing. you can be silently seated as we pray for the meals. Lunchtime is here, the board is laid. Thanks be to God who give us lunch. Amen.
That's wonderful.
Did you know that?
That's a new one. Kujeni to